welcome everybody. Today is, what is today? Today is March 4th, 2017. This is MogTalk number 99, the PvP show, Feast. If you guys are unfamiliar with MogTalk, MogTalk is a show based on lots of different Final Fantasy XIV topics. For anything from talk about racing, to savage raiding, to PvP and talking crap to other players, which is what today's show is about. This is exactly everything we're going to talk about is in detail about PvP. And when I say in detail about PvP, I mean Feast. We're not talking about anything else because, you know, you could call the 72 man, you know, PvP if you want to, but I mean, you can call Triple Triad PvP too, right? It's the same thing. So that being said, before we start, I got to introduce all of our guests, all of our wonderful guests. And before I even do that, I'm going to tell you guys something. It's impossible to get anyone on this show that someone else is not going to hate, because this is PvP and everybody apparently has enemies and everyone's talking crap about everybody. But hopefully today's cast, you guys hate a little bit less than everybody else. And I'm going to start first here with King. King, can you go ahead and introduce yourself, say who you are and your experience with PvP?
Yeah, so hey guys, my name's King Stefan. If you PvP, you've probably heard of me.
Jesus.
I was the rank 1 late party player in season 1. Season 2 I wasn't ranked for some reasons. Season 3 diamond in both, and then I was also the FanFest champion for 2016. I play healer only, and yeah, that's basically it.
NA FanFest champion.
NA FanFest.
There you go, NA FanFest champion. All right, and then we have next Soup, who is also a FanFest champion, right? And then go ahead and introduce yourself, dude.
Hello, I'm Chicken Soup from Ragnarok. I've been PvPing since Seal Rock release. I've been in top 100 in Season 1 and Season 3. And I also, as Frosty said, won the EU FanFests, and I main Monk.
Awesome. And then last, he looks kind of like a character we haven't unlocked yet.
Well, my name's Avarence, and I have two characters. One of them's Aviares on Exodus and Primal, and the other is Ava on currently on Aether, and I've gotten top 10 pretty much every season in the Feast, Season 1, Season 2, and Season 3.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and I played, and I got all as a white mage, so I'm pretty good at this game.
Pretty good at this game. There we go. There we go. That's the Ava I'm looking for. All right. So sorry about that, everybody. Like, apparently I needed to pay money to Zoom. They give you like a free month, and like my free month was up before I even tried to use it for the show. So there you go. Now we're back. Hopefully it doesn't crash again. If it does crash again, I'll be really upset. But you guys have to yell at me this time. If you see a timer pop up, just say it. Just say, Frosty, shut the up. Just look, you got 10 seconds left, and then we'll just work with that. But to do the show today, guys, sorry we kind of derailed everything, but we're going to get back into it. Today's show, I do want to talk about PvP. I want to talk about the Feast. I want to talk about lots of different things. I want to talk about new players coming into the Feast. I want to talk about situations with issues that people have with the Feast. I want to talk about why we're pissed off about certain things in the Feast. What I don't want to talk about is goddamn witch hunting and making fun of other people that may have feelings about things, guys. So none of that. All right? Are we all agreeing on that?
Got it.
All right, good.
Let's try.
Okay, Ava, you're not going to say who you're going to punch, right?
No, I'm not.
Okay. All right, there we go. So the first question on this show, this big layout that I made, this nice little fancy layout that I have here, is there's going to be people maybe watching the show right now. Maybe they're like, man, I don't even know what PvE is. I'm going to click on this little podcast and learn a little bit here and just figure out what PvP is in Final Fantasy XIV. So we're going to, again, limit this down to Feast, because there's lots of different modes of fighting other people, either if it's cards or minions or a cluster. God, I'm trying to stop cussing, but I'm failing really bad because I'm stopping myself before I say the word. But I'm just going to say, it's a big clusterfuck doing 72 man, guys. It is. It doesn't feel fun to me. Like, I did it the other day. And I guess, you know, if it's like you're in these pre-organized groups or whatever, sure, that's fun. But if it's like just a whole bunch of people you don't know and you're just hoping that people do what you want them to do, it's not fun. Do you guys have fun with 72-mans right now? Like if you queued up, we're like, yeah, Shatter, Seal Rock. Oh, I'm excited for it. Any of you guys?
Personally, I don't like front lines at all.
Well, you can do fancy stuff like going to a cliff and pushing off people all game.
But you're
otherwise,
not
no.
doing the objective. You're just messing around.
Yeah, we're not. Okay, that's true.
It's one of our favorite things for my pre-mades is we like to do high noons, which is where we get like 4 machinists, and then we just pick a target, throw it a bind, and all 4 of us use our range LB at once.
Oh my god! So it's more like just a big joke. Like you guys just go in there to dick around, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Hopefully, Lord Plaque is the only one that can't hear anything. It looks like everybody else can hear everything perfectly fine. Ava, what's your thoughts on 72-man, man?
I personally don't really front lines pretty much at all. Like the only time I really front lines was like in the beginning when I started playing this game, and later on during the Garo event, so I can get my mount. But otherwise, like I don't really like the idea of front lines in it being like 3-way free for all because it's just random. It's not really fair. You can have 2 teams kind of like gang up on you for no reason other than that's just how it was and how maybe the objectives spawned. Because sometimes like you'll have all the objectives like spawn like around you, and all of a sudden you're like sandwiched in between both teams and you just get annihilated. So I mean, it's just not fun for me. Like
I gotcha.
The way PvP is in front lines currently.
Yeah, and it lets people click on buttons and figure stuff out, and that's like the most I can get out of it. I can say, hey man, get back to front lines if someone messes up in a feast. There you go, King. You got it. You gotta put the boom down when you're talking, man.
Yeah. Well, it's the chat saying my mic's slow. It's happening all over again.
That's okay. As long as we can hear everyone else, that's all that really matters. So, getting into this, let's explain kind of how Feast works in this game. Because, I mean, some people are familiar with WoW PvP. I think that's a good reference for MMO PvP in general is always WoW. You can easily just go back to it and compare PvP to it. But if you guys were going to explain to someone, hey, this is what Feast is, this is what PvP in Final Fantasy XIV, when you want to get serious into PvP, what it really is, can you guys explain that? And I'll start, you know what?
Yeah.
Let's do King. King, you start with that.
Yeah, can I take it? Because I have a pretty good analogy, or a pretty good comparison. So, like you said, imagine if you take WoW's arena PvP, right, where it's small-scale arena teams, organized combat, and then combine that with Super Smash Brothers coin mode with items turned on. That's what the Feast is. So
basically, everyone got pissed off at Brawl because it had the big power up that fell down all the time, and they want to turn off items and everything. But the Feast is basically playing, Smash Brothers or whatever. What is this? Smash Brothers? I haven't played it in a long time. Jesus Christ! But yeah, no. Like, so basically, it's the Brawl Ball that when you go try to get the adrenaline, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I got you.
And offense buff is like the home run bat.
Yeah.
The Wolf's Heart is like the invincibility star.
Oh Jesus. Okay, that's a pretty good analogy. All right. Soup, do you want to add anything to that? Or you think that he just described it perfectly?
I think, it's described it perfectly, I'd say. If you would need to make an analogy against WoW, I could say that it's same as WoW, only the difference is that you have objective as medals, and people like respawn. It's not a death match, it's more like an objective match, I'd say.
Yeah, it feels like that. I mean, like, it does feel like you have to be you have to know your rotation. You still have to know things about your job, right? You have to know how to burn people. You have to know how to heal people. You have to know how situations turn out. It's not 100% objective, and your class that you're playing matters, and how you play it matters. So that's what I kind of like about it, is that you can play the game, but you have these little things that curve and, the balance a bit. And a lot of people want that to change. Ava, how do you feel about how Feast is right now? Do you want it to change?
I do, but like with all the boxes and the adrenaline, it's just more things that kind of like skew a game in favor of like another. Like, here's the thing: like, if you get the first kill in the Feast, like it doesn't really matter as much as you getting a kill like at maybe like a minute and 30 seconds in when the adrenaline first pops, or at 4 minutes when like the DPS boxes pop. I'm sure it actually changed with. I think they got rid of the DPS boxes and added this wolf heart box, which is actually even like more stupid because like and they even added more adrenaline to the game, which I don't approve of at all. It increases like the value of killing people at a certain time rather than like actually actively trying to get kills.
Right.
So it's kind of unfair to me in that way because like you can like handle like the beginning burst like really well and like get a kill, but like that doesn't actually matter as much as in the later stages of the game and taking control of the middle when all that happens.
Yeah, because basically, I mean, that's what the game really evolves into is controlling that middle part and getting the boxes, right? Yeah. And getting more power-ups in a way to kind of make it to where the game's easier for you. And, someone else got the kill first, they got medals, you can kill them a little bit easier because they have vulnerability now. And so if they get only, let's say they're at 150, you kill them once, you've gotten 25 medals, which will let you win the game. So it does have a weird feeling there. But I kind of like it. I don't know why, but like I wish there was a standard just fight, kill each other, brawl. But at the same time, like this seems like it's a pretty competitive version of the game, and I've been enjoying it. And I used to hate it. There's so many things I used to hate. I used to complain about tanks, the whole tank ranged melee healer comp. I'm like, that's stupid. How are you ever going to get a match together? Like, you just sit there, and that's a problem. I mean, it does introduce issues. Like, the matches do take a long time to be created because you have to get both their tiers matched up, their whatever matched up the points, make sure it's all in a good form, and then you have to get the roles correct. And so that's going to take a while. Everyone plays healer if they want to play Feast a lot, right?
Well, yeah, it depends. Like, you can play melee too. Sometimes, like, it all depends on like who's queuing. And sometimes it can favor you a lot more than other people. Like sometimes like ranged will have 30-minute queues, and other times they'll have like instant queues depending on the type of people that are playing. Yeah.
And so basically like Feast turns into this thing to where you queue up for it and it's just something that you eventually do. You have to go around and do other things, harass people in Idleshire or harass people around the FC while you're waiting. I mean, you have to watch Netflix off on the side waiting for that little ding to pop. I don't know. It kind of sucks in that way because there could be days where you get 3 matches a day and you sit all afternoon trying to get into the game. One of my first experiences when I started to get into Feast again is I queued up, I think, as a tank, and I sat there and it was like, 5-minute wait. All right. And then as my wait timer went up, it went up until it hit an hour. And then I got in. I was like, man, I got in. I'm going to play. As soon as the match started, healer dropped out.
That sounds fun.
It was
that's why I play healer.
Yeah. It was bad. It was really bad. And I don't know. I hated it. And I think it's really hard for people to get into PvP if they can't really play it. But going back to the format of it, I'm starting to enjoy it because I feel like tanks, when you take a tank in there, they have a role depending on what job they're playing. Like a warrior's going to go and try to harass and do crazy nonsense. Paladins, they run around and try to stun people, shield bash all day, right? And flash and clemency, those are the 3 things they do all day. There's lots more to it, but I'm trying to oversimplify it, right? Then you have your burst jobs, and they're just like, hey, I'm going to burst and kill this guy as quickly as possible. And then you have healers who all they can do is heal, unless if they want to throw an arrow and get a kill off on somebody, right? Real quick, do a fluid aura, yeah. So it's interesting because I don't see that kind of PvP setup in any other MMO. Have you guys seen that kind of setup anywhere else? Or is it just Final Fantasy that does that?
Well, no. World of Warcraft is kind of like that. Like, there's a whole time, like...
There's meta, but there's not restriction.
There's no restriction.
They don't have restriction, but... Yeah.
So, I don't know. I feel like since it forces you into that kind of setup, you have all these other different things that you have to think about, and the meta changes because you know this is what the setup's going to look like. If someone pops in with a warrior, a dragoon, a ninja, or not dragoon, ninja, sorry, dragoon, machinist, and white mage, I know kind of what to expect. I have an idea of how that's going to play out versus a paladin, ninja, black mage, and like an Astro or something, right? You have kind of an idea. Those matches are going to play differently. You know what their strengths are. You know what your weaknesses are. But they have a base form that you can always go against. I don't know if I'm making any sense right now. I'm actually really excited about the feast. If you guys can't tell, I've been really excited about it for like the last couple of weeks. Does that wear off? Do you guys get tired of it? Do you like, man, I can't stand this anymore. I'm done. I'm quitting.
Goes up and down, you know.
Yeah, some
Well-
games it's just like you just want to stop forever, and then 2 days later you just play 20 games. It's
Or you
Yeah.
can get
Up
more
and downs,
angry
yeah.
and keep queuing and lose 500 points in one day.
Yeah, 500 points. Jesus, I don't know if I have
Well-
500 points right now.
Well, I did lose 500 points in one day from like 2,900 to like 24. and, like,
Ugh.
that wasn't too
Did you
great
just
for me,
stop
but-
for like a week afterwards?
well. That's when, well, with Aether, like the feast just kind of died out, so you couldn't really play anyway. But you know that does go to the problem with like you were having, right?
Mhm.
Like with like not getting queues
Yeah.
and all that, and it's just like a lot of people like they kind of like get into the head that like, oh, I know I'm not going to get top 10, so I'm just going to like be really safe in this one spot in top 100 and I won't have to play anymore, you know.
hmm
And that kind of like contributes to like just like it's not completely true because that people say like, oh, like tons of people stopped and I can't get to the top 100 because like
Mhm.
you know, like I transferred to chaos for a week and I got to the top 10 in basically 5 days. I didn't really play for the whole week even, but like
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
like at the same time, it is true that a lot of people do stop,
Mhm.
and that it affects queues for like maybe tanks the most because I don't even know why like certain roles get fucked over
Yeah.
compared to others. But
Well, I mean, like, tanks have a weird spot, I think, going through the progression of playing the game. Because at the very beginning, and, like, when you're unranked and you're playing with... If you're kind of in a season, right, and people are kind of established where they are with their different tiers and ranks, if you start off first as a tank, it's going to be really weird how you play versus people who don't know how to play the game, versus when you get to the top and you have to play completely different. Because you could do everything perfect. You can get, like, number one tank, Paladin, at unranked match... If he does the stuff that he does in the top tiers, he's going to lose automatically because he has to support
Probably.
the players he's with. And it's weird because DPS, they could just burst people. That's all they do, right?
well, yeah, there is that
No.
balance issue where tanks are like on the lower tier of being able to carry people, and it's like on top you have the melee that's able to carry game because like melee in particular they can break boxes, they can break adrenaline jars and like break open the wolf hearts box, right?
Yeah.
And, well, like you know, like a lot of people say like, well, if you're a good healer you can get really high up, right? Well, at the same time, like if you're like me and like you get like a bunch of like people that like don't really know what they're doing, like they won't go after the boxes or anything, and then automatically you're at a huge disadvantage. So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
so like
You can
melee's
sleep
at the
the
top.
tank, sleep the healer. You can sleep everybody on the enemy team to try to secure the box, but your team just doesn't even hit it.
Because
Like
they
I
do.
had games, where the healer is out for 20 seconds and no one dies. Like I don't understand how that can happen. I can just click one button and kill someone in 20 seconds.
So basically like melee's on top in terms of carrying ability. Then you have like healers and ranged at like the same, because like it is possible to get rank 1 as ranged and healer.
Mhm.
And then like you have kind of like tanks that are a little lower. Warriors are kind of in a position where they can actually get rank 1. Like there has been a warrior that has gotten rank 1 because they can actually two-shot people
Right.
in the right conditions. And it's like, so they can actually do stuff in DPS, while paladins on the other hand, like they're more like of a support role, and if you don't have other people doing their job, then you're not going to succeed.
Yeah. It's painful. I hate it. Like, I feel like I go through every match, and I do this every single time I play. I record the match. I'm like, I'm going to go back, and I'm going to see what happened here. Could I have done anything different? Could I have made the situation better? And then I look at it, I'm like, no. In this certain spot, I've done everything to make it to where they can easily kill someone, and I feel completely worthless still. Like, if I was a warrior, I would have just killed him and been done with it. Okay, Velcleave.
Yeah, paladins are in particularly a tough spot because like I think the only thing that they can really do to improve is like, you know, choosing when they stun. You know, like you don't like stun like off of DR. Like when they lose their resistance, you don't just like go off to stun them.
Yeah.
You like you kind of like look for maybe like you look for like a limit break that a melee is doing, and then you stun then.
I can't stun limit breaks, man. I can't stop them. Like it
It's
happens
hard.
so quick.
No, I meant like if your melee, like if you know. see,
Oh,
like,
if we're gonna do one, okay, I got
yeah,
you.
and then you do your stun then. But like even then, it's kind of like iffy, you know. Like,
I have to hope the ninja didn't kill my DR and like went into
Yeah, I
like
know.
stun.
Oh
mode.
yeah, that's a
why-
big problem.
That's why it's iffy, right? So
Mhm.
like,
It's weird, and you have to kind of realize these things when you're going to solo queue for these comps. You're like, who's on my team? What are they doing? What can I expect because they're on my team? Is this ninja running around and just stunning everything that it can stun? All right, I guess that's how they play. I have to just never use shield bash. I have to depend on all my other moves because I have to make use out of all my GCDs and make sure that what I'm doing actually has an effect somewhere. And sometimes you just have to cross your fingers. You're like, man, I hope my DR is not completely messed up because I can't follow that. I can't follow like a ninja and see every single time they stun someone and then calculate that in my head. Oh, in 60 seconds, it's going to be okay for me. I can just kind of make guesses and assumptions and say, it's been a little bit since I did it, so I can make sense of it. But I don't know if this ninja went over there just real quick. I'm going to jump over here, hit him, run back. It sucks. I don't know. But we're kind of going like this weird tangent here. That's like going really deep into this conversation when we were just like talking, let's introduce Final Fantasy 14 PvP. And we just dove into this really complicated discussion. Not really that complicated, but...
okay, well, what do you want to talk about?
Okay. So what we'll do, we kind of explained it. I think people have an idea. You have your different roles. You have different things going in there. It's a little bit like, I think, close to what WoW PvP is, just a different format. Plus, you throw in Super Smash Brothers, and then there you go. That's Final Fantasy 14 PvP, right? With long queues. Okay, now we got it. So, while people getting into PvP, one of the frustrating things, and this is the dirty term you call people who are new players, is the Garo players, right? Garo players? Yeah? Okay. So
Not
people...
all of them are
Garo boys.
Some of them are just normal players. That, no.
Just normal players. They're just they're in that kind of mindset of they play like someone who just got into PvP. Yeah. So the Garo players, they're going in there and they're trying to get all these different awards, and this is cool. The event was pretty cool. They were like, "Hey, guys, look at all this ridiculous crap. Don't you want to look like a Power Ranger or something? Yeah, let's do it. Let's go into PvP and do stuff." And so they're going off and they're doing Shatter a billion times in a row. And then they're like, man, you know what? I'm tired of Shatter. I actually want to get into PvP. And Feast gives me some stuff too. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to do a little bit of that. Then they start playing and they lose. They have a 0% win rate because they can't heal their team. And they're healers, right? I mean, if you don't have a healer that heals someone, then you're probably going to lose. Unless if the other team is the same thing. You have two Garo healers against each other. It must be fun being a DPS on those days.
There's
like
those
so
the 8
much.
kill games.
Yeah.
Well, I remember one time I had a ninja, like a warrior that did like, or it was a ninja and he only did 30,000 damage in an 8-minute game. So it's like, no, it goes both ways in that.
Mhm.
But
Jesus, man. Yeah, so this is what's the new thing. Like, you have a lot of new players who are kind of getting into the Feast, and they make lots of mistakes. And the same thing with just bad players in there. They make lots of mistakes. There's bad players who are platinum, just because of how the point system works out. So you have all these different players who just kind of, they don't really know the little ins and outs of everything. So if you were going to explain someone who just started PvP and you're like, man, I'm going to give you some tips, and these tips will help you not make me lose. All right? So you're in a match with them, and Feast Chat is enabled, and you guys are able to discuss this, and you're able to give a tip real quick. And this is a new player. Hi, first time here. King, reference to you. There we go. So if you had to just say, hey, man, I'm going to give you one tip, what would that be, King? And let's just say, I'll say it's a healer for you, King, if you're going to give a healer a tip.
Okay, I think in general, I want Soup to talk about it too, because his team, their interview post-match at FanFest, I think they pretty much encompassed everything that a new player should do. I don't know if you remember all those tips, Soup. But as a healer, like, get familiar with your PvP abilities. I mean, that's the first one, because like things like Attunement, Sacred Prism, they are like your lifeline.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to win a match without them.
Right. I mean, and not just that. I would think like every single job should do that, right? And not just get familiar with your PvP abilities, get familiar with everyone else's PvP abilities, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that makes a world of difference. Jesus Christ. If someone could just do that and just say, hey, man, because I didn't really do that when I first started playing. I'm like, why is this healer not taking any damage? This is stupid.
How are they dodging so much?
God, what is this? And then eventually you start learning these things and the icons and familiarizing yourself with it. It makes it a little bit easier. All right. So, Soup, give me one of your ideas. And you know what? We'll just say general advice here.
Medals, honestly, most important thing they should learn. Medals. Tank takes 200 medals. After that, it's melee. And after that, people will start dying and it will get messy. But yeah.
Yeah.
At start, the medals are really important. Like if a healer takes the first stack, that healer is 100% dead. There's no saving him. And then the match gets really messy after that.
Yeah. And so tanks always try to get the first 2 sets of medals and try to do math too, right? And
yes, definitely. Like it's the problem I see a lot. So we kill one person, the tank gets the medals, right? So it has 150. We kill the same person again, and the tank takes it again. And then after this, if he takes it, he has 5 stacks. It just ruins the whole match for me.
Yeah,
usually.
5 stacks? I don't know. I was talking about this. 5 stacks could work out if your team is winning and, you know, everyone else has 100 medals and you have 5 stacks. Okay, that's fine.
That's like the tipping point. Like, actually, I think if you get 25 medals, if you have like 175 and you get 50 again, I think you get to 7 stacks, and that's like even worse.
Well, here's the thing with 5 stacks. It's like if you pick up 5 stacks on a tank, it's actually better to put like 1 stack on your melee instead, or 1 stack on your healer, because if your tank with 5 stacks dies, you give the enemy team way more medals than if your person with 1 stack dies.
Okay, so this is I've had lots of people yelling at me. I don't know if you guys saw it when I had someone in particular completely burn me like really hard on picking up too many medals and losing the game. But so I have had to figure this out, and I want to talk about this really quick because this is something that I've been doing personally. You guys could call me an idiot for it, or if I'm just like overdoing it or something. But so I'm getting medals. I try to get the 200, right? That's my rule. I want to get the 4 stacks and be done, not touch it at all. I have my little key, my little quick chat, get medals. And like, I'm just going to spam it. I'm like, I'm not getting them. They're going to go back to their team if you don't get them. And so I spam that button, right? The entire time. Now, if I do somehow see they killed a healer twice in a row, right? Then there's a little double coin symbol or whatever. Someone can pick that up and not get a stack.
Yes.
Right? And so that should be the thing. Like, I should just, if someone dies and no one else has picked up medals but me, someone just needs to pick it up. Who cares? Just go pick up those medals. 25 medals. It's not even a big deal. You're helping us a lot by just picking that up and not taking the extra vulnerability. I don't take extra stacks because medals work in this weird way where after it like 1 stack starts at 150, right? And then you get is 175 2 stacks? Okay. And then you have
I think so. I don't know the exact numbers.
Yeah, 175 is because if you pick up somebody that you killed twice after you picked up their medals after kill once, it gives you 2 stacks. Like that's why tanks don't pick up a smaller stack after they've picked up a regular stack.
And so if I do somehow pick up that stack, I'm like at 175, I'm like, man, this is kind of a weird situation. I sit there and the next person who dies, I look up at the chart. How much does he have now? How many coins does he have at this point? I double it. Actually, no, all you gotta do is look at how many coins he has right now, and that's how many you're gonna pick up.
It says in the chat, though. You can just look at the chat.
I don't look at the chat.
You should. It says like this person dropped, let's say, 50 medals.
Right.
It's way easier.
And so you just gotta add it up. And you're like, if I'm gonna hit 200 by picking up these medals, I'll pick it up. But if I'm gonna go over 200, I'm not touching it. I'm just gonna spam the get medals quick
Pretty
chat
much.
option. And so that's what I do, is I just kind of pay attention to what those medals are, and I don't get them if I'm unsure I'm going to get over 4 stacks. I'm just trying to play safe.
Well, the easiest way I think for tanks is like get the first 2 sets if those people like were freshly killed. Like, say you kill one person and they drop a guaranteed 50, and then like you kill a different person from that, then that means they drop 50 as well, and then you should just pick it up. But
Yeah.
you should try and like look at the chat though, like
You got to pay attention to it
to make sure, because like if that person did pick up medals, right, and they didn't die, right, then they would drop more. So you should.
I mean, and the main reason we say this, and 4 is like 200 is like kind of that limit, is because after 200, it's exponentially like insane to pick up any more medals. Like, and it's not worth it. The value of vulnerabilities that you get, it's just not worth it at all. There's no value in it, unless if you're like 2 seconds away from winning. I've done that. I got 10 stacks in the last 2 seconds because I knew that I was going to win the game. But I mean, that's completely not relevant. So what you should do is always get medals. Make sure you have get medals somewhere. Just get it, dude. And if you're a tank, you spam that if you're not going to get the medals, so they understand you're not going to do it. Because that happens a lot. When I'm playing with new players, is that they just think, oh, I shouldn't get medals. Tanks are going to get it.
And it's very important. Like as a tank too, if you have 4 stacks and there's medals there and nobody's getting them, just let them go back to the enemy team. It's way better than picking them up.
Yeah, because then you're easily killed for 50 medals. Because the difference between 200 and is 4 stacks to 10 stacks. Just 50 medals. You get 10 more stacks by just 50 medals by going from 200 to 250.
Yep.
So it's kind of stupid. I'm learning things, guys. I'm not a horrible Goro player. I'm doing some stuff. I'm trying, guys. Every match, I'm trying to learn something different. So
since you said like you're just playing, I don't know if you manage this, but even with 4 stacks, you're a tank. You're gonna die. Like good DPS players will kill you definitely. And one more, you're dead. 100%.
Well, they can. Like and you just have to be really defensive, like, and you can live, assuming your healer heals you. But
yeah. So I have been debating if I should just immediately put on Shield Oath as soon as I get 4 stacks, and now I'm at the point where I'm like, yeah, I'm putting in Shield Oath as soon as I get 4 stacks. I don't care anymore. If we're winning, I just need to be defensive and try to keep us alive and hope my team can kill them, because otherwise I'm going to be an easy target, right?
Yeah, like I would just go to Shield Oath. Like, you know, I know a lot of players that do like try to be fancy, you know, and like
it costs mana to switch, and that's bad.
I usually look at monks all the time that try to be fancy with their fists, and like just stay in Earth Fist, please.
Because then you get stunned and you fist of fire, and then you're just screwed.
Yeah, it's like by the time you switch to Earth Fist from fire, like you're already getting like beat the shit out of you.
If people are paying attention to your buffs, right, they're gonna see it and they're like, oh, all right, number 1. That's my thing, guys. I'm like, focus on number 1. You're number 1, you're dead. I don't pay attention to anything else. I'm gonna number 1. We gotta support and kill that guy. Just do it. And I feel like it's hard in a lot of matches today. And you know what, Ava? I'm gonna stop saying what I'm gonna say because I haven't gotten your advice yet. I want you to give one piece of advice you'd give a Goro player real quick before I go on my little tangent, if I do.
Well, I want it's more specific to a certain set of people. It's the tanks again, but stop wearing slaying gear and switch out your bonus attribute from strength. like strength is like not useful. Like if you haven't swapped from like your 35 strength from like the past to vitality, then you should do it right now.
That's a pretty bad player because that wasn't viable for like patches and patches for anything.
I mean, some people just don't know, and like because they don't pay attention to patches, they don't look at them, or even they just don't realize it. You know, like because like once you're leveled up, you don't really look at your bonus attributes or even like think about them, right? So like, I just think like if you're a tank and you're below, like the minimum, depending on like the race you chose, will be like around 14.7 k health. So if you're below 14.7 k health, you need to like kind of look at your gear, see if you're wearing slaying pieces, and if you're not wearing slaying pieces, then you need to look at your bonus attribute and swap from strength to vitality, because strength is absolutely useless in comparison to vitality and PvP. And most of all, like if you're trying to try hard, like with your secondary attributes, like you know, like strength, crit, determination, or whatever, you know, like you're gonna get synced down a lot. And everybody's synced down to like 150, and your accessories will only give you like maybe like 20 determination once you're synced down.
Right.
So that 20 determination isn't going to offset you missing like 500 health from wearing just one slaying piece. You know?
Yeah.
So, like,
Man.
please, like,
Dude,
This-
please
like-
do it. Pay attention to gear. Pay
Like,
attention to health.
even if you can even try hard right now as a tank, and you can have crit debt if you really want.
Mm-hmm.
But I still see people like you can have crit debt in your neck, your earring, and your bracelet right now as a tank. That will be synced down to like the maximum
Mm-hmm.
that you can have.
Right.
So, and then you can have like crit accuracy rings, like for the accuracy that you need. So, like, there's no reason for people to wear slaying as a tank, even if they're tryharding with their secondary stats. So,
Yeah.
you know, just please.
Please, yeah, guys, and I think this is a good piece of advice. I mean, you pay attention to gear for PvE. You're like, hey, I want to get the best gear for PvE. Figure out what gear you should be getting for PvP, and try to get it in with whatever gear you have. Just go ahead and try to make it work out, and then get a plan for getting better gear. I mean, go in. You're gonna play, and you're gonna have crappy gear. That's okay. That's why you could probably have crappy gear and play better than half the people that are out there. So, just try, guys. Get an idea and a plan for it. And it's weird how gear works because it all sinks down to 150, right? And so you got to pay attention to how stats work, and you have to get the right accuracy. And I've had this conversation so many times, I'm tired of it. Because like they're like, oh yeah, you got to get 420 accuracy. You got to get 410 accuracy. Oh, you don't need accuracy because it doesn't matter. Like, why is this still like a conversation? Why are people talking about this? What? Tell me, guys, does accuracy matter? What do you need for accuracy?
Yes.
407.
Yeah.
407? Okay.
407. Yes.
There you go, guys. Get accuracy to 407. And you're going to miss because I'm going to flash you. All right? I'm going to show you the goods. But I mean, that's like that's what paladins do. All right? Sorry.
I thought it was a funny joke.
Thank you. I got 1 out of 3 people to laugh. I'm doing pretty good here. So, no, like, you do it. Go out there and just get 407 accuracy. Plan your gear around it. And you won't know until you sync. You can go up to the dueling platform, right? And just say, hey, I'm going to do a 150 sync real quick. I don't care. You're not going to try to fight the guy. You're just going to look at your gear stats. Look at it, see what happens when you go to 150, and build your gear from there. Right?
Is there a sync in the dueling ring? I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I
you
don't
can
think
sync
so.
it down.
Yeah,
You have to
yes,
activate
it's
Oh,
it.
they
new.
added
It's pretty
that?
new.
Okay.
Yes.
You don't have to. You can sync to the highest, or you can do whatever with it, but you can sync it straight to 150. And that's how I learned what kind of gear I need and what I can run with. Right now, I'm over-capped on accuracy. And I need to fix that too, but it's pretty good. It's okay. My set's okay. I'm doing all right. And so the last bit about that, while we're talking about stats, before we go into like dealing with certain types of players, when you go into getting gear and you're setting up, people like crit a lot. All right. Healers is a little bit different because healers you want to cast fast, right? You want spell speed and piety usually.
Very dependent.
Depends on the healer, yeah.
Okay. So, crit is so important of a stat because everything's about bursting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you want to have big hits happen, and you want to surprise people. That's why I love awareness so much. It's so great. Basically, if someone's trying to kill me, I put awareness on. It's completely predictable damage, and you can easily get through it. But if you get a burst damage on you, a healer's not going to heal you. Like, I see people get deleted within literally half a second. How does a healer deal with that?
Sleep.
Sleep?
Yes.
No, it's not like you just have to be aware, not run in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Like I see a lot of people try to sleep. Like a lot of new healers try to sleep, but then like they die while they're sleeping people. So it's like you got
So
like-
Tetra's for.
yeah.
Like, this is the thing I see a lot. Like, people are like, oh, he died, I couldn't do anything. People are supposed to die. Like, you can't heal everyone.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
can't make
You know,
everyone survive. People are gonna die.
Right.
You just have
way
to
this
make
game-
sure.
Yeah,
Okay,
go
I
ahead.
was gonna say, yeah. You just have to make sure instead of 2 people dying, only one person dies. This is the important part.
Okay. So, like, if they're going to funnel all of their cooldowns on one person, it's all on one person instead of funneling on 2 people and killing 2 people, right? Is that kind of what you're saying?
No. What I'm saying is, like, let's say you're playing a healer and 2 people are taking damage.
Yeah.
Like, you can try to heal both of them, but then both of them might die.
Mhm.
Like, you have to be able to assess the situation there. So you might have to let someone die and heal the other person. That's what I'm saying.
I hear some snow in the background. I don't know what that is. It's just like
I don't think it's from me.
somewhere. I don't know. Ava, do you have a lot of those choices where you're like, man, I just gotta heal this one person. I can't keep both of them alive?
Sometimes it's not that common. Like, the trusted cure 2 spam can be pretty good sometimes. And like if you gotta like assess, like it's not all the time that the DPS is split and like it's gonna guarantee that someone's gonna die. Like sometimes like you just have one person on you. Like for example, like I can have like a warrior that's just beating on me specifically, and then like the DPS is like on someone else, and like you can just think like, well, a warrior, can only really do a lot of damage to me. He has Fell Cleave, and like if you already know that he used his Fell Cleave and all that stuff, and like his like berserk, then you can kind of use that opportunity to kind of focus on someone else. And another thing, like specifically, like is to keep your like heal over times up on people, like including yourself. That'll help offset,
Random
like,
dots that are out there,
or like even multiple people like hitting you, right? Because like like again, like the example with the warrior, like if they don't have Fell Cleave or anything, then like a regen and like a medic to like a hot will be able to keep you up. And I guess that's similar with like a astrologian, like with their hots and all that.
Well, do astrologians run knocked usually with PvP?
No, they don't. No.
No, they're no now.
Okay, I gotcha. I think I figured out the mic. I think it's all Ava. Ava stuff's all mic. Your mic's just like doing this weird thing where it's like going up and it's going down and then it's like doing weird stuff. But it's okay. We're just gonna accept that because we like Ava, and we're gonna run with it. I don't know if there's any way to even fix it. So
No, I see.
don't worry about it too much. Maybe just maybe pull it out a little bit and then just pull it in every once in a while. Do a king, push it up, but remember to pull it back down when you start talking. But that's okay. So that's some good general advice. If you guys are getting into PvP, take these words of advice to heart. Understand it. These basic things will make you better than a lot of other people that are getting in there and getting glamour for no reason. Like they're like, I got the glamour, I'm done, peace out. But now you guys know a little bit better, and when we play next time, we're gonna be playing with some decent players, right? Everyone that wants to PvP is watching the show right now.
Every single one of them.
Every single
I
one.
hope right
they're
now we
listening.
hope they do.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a lot of situations that I've found when going through and you're doing different things with a match. You get a good player in there and he's just doing everything right. And I want to start with a situation with healers. Like healers they do so much right sometimes, and like you can't do anything. Like they're sleeping people, they're like healing everyone, they're Ava or they're King Stefan or they're whatever, that you just can't kill anyone. Like, what's the best way to kind of handle a healer who's really good? How do you kind of control that? And okay, go ahead. Yeah.
All right. So a strategy came up last season because there's a particular player on Aether that only plays Astrologian, and they played Astrologian up to Diamond on like 3 of their alts, right? So one of the players on Aether came up with a strategy to beat this guy, even though he would get really good players on his team every time because he was leveling alts. And the strategy was you would just kill his teammates, never pressure him at all, and just, go so hard onto his team that he spent all of his MP, and then you just keep killing the teammates over and over again, hoping that he just doesn't get enough MP back to keep up with it. So basically, if you get a really good healer and you know that you're not going to be able to kill them, your team's not going to be able to kill them, and this is particularly for Astrologians, I think, because they're like the biggest pub stompers. Because once you get into if you're a skilled DPS, there is no such thing as a pesky healer. Like good DPS just destroy healers.
Okay.
But if you're not the greatest DPS and you're against an Astrologian, really it's just CC them intelligently, because you can't really do much against like a paladin CC lock, and then kill their team.
Okay. So honestly, you just want to get the damage wherever you can get it, and try not to get reduced damage. Like if they are doing something to reduce your damage, you want to kind of point your damage somewhere else, so they have to burn their mana. Maybe is that like a good idea? Kind of what you're talking about. Like you want to do as much pressure as you can to force them to use as much as they have to use until they have nothing left.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you say that's basically the same thing, Ava? If you're playing a match, the good way to beat you is just to beat up your DPS really well.
Well, not in particular. Well, astrologians in particular are good at kiting. So like,
Mm,
I like to say that astrologians are the best at just making people chase after them mindlessly.
right.
So it's like that's an issue particularly with astrologians where like it seems like they're unkillable and then like your team's just kind of falling apart, not
What
killing.
about like white mages and scholars? Do you do kind of the same thing with them,
Well,
or?
Well, white mages you can't kite as well because you have to actually cast like your heals. Like white mages do have tetra and they do have their hots, but like outside of that, they have to stop. While astrologians, they actually have an on the move healing ability, or even like I guess they can use light speed and make their cast really fast to the point where they can run and cast at the same time. So
Mm-hmm.
like
Go ahead.
it's just weird in that way, but if you can't kill a healer, don't chase after them. That's all I have to say about that.
Okay. What I like in chat, I just noticed this. Is anyone here even diamond or just spewing crap? You're like, okay, yeah, I guess that diamond means you're a really great player, all right? And so you shouldn't say anything. You guys can't talk about PvP if you're not diamond, right? Or is that like
Ava's got diamond on all 3 data centers.
yeah? I mean, and it's winning. Like to be honest with you, I'm gonna go ahead and kill your glory a little bit with FanFest stuff. Did you guys feel like you had a challenging team to fight at FanFest, Stefan?
No, I mean, it sounds so cocky, but no, not really. Like not comparatively to like the actual like light party teams on Aether, like some of like the
Right.
real ones. Like it was more difficult than like your standard like go in and fight people that are just in there for tomes or whatever.
Mhm.
But it wasn't like top tier.
Right. Did that like change a little bit? Soup, you were like the last tournament for FanFest. Like, does it feel like the competition was a lot more over at EU? Like, were there a whole bunch of good teams, or was it kind of meh?
We had good teams, but the seeding was pretty bad. So I'd say like the final match was the easiest one. We also got like used to the equipment and stuff. Like I had more problem with the equipment than FanFest.
Yeah,
That was the most
I agree
challenging
with
part
that.
for me. But yeah, like I'd say we had a bunch of our teams, but we were the only team that had 4 good players. I can say that.
Yeah. I mean, I was in the NA championship of the quarterfinals, I could say, kind of, right? Because they didn't even have that many teams in there. I went on stage and I played like crap. And I mean, I think it developed a good bit when going into EU. Like they made some positive changes with it. But at this point, they really just have to find something to cycle in all the good players and give them inspiration to be good players too. And not just be people who want to get on the top of a board. Because if you can have good players who have to go out there and compete and actually get something nice from like a tournament, that would be awesome. And so we'd have a lot of different people out there. But
Yeah, I think the one thing for NA2, I think the competition would have been more fierce if they wouldn't have announced it so late. Like I know a pretty sizable handful of people that would have gone if they knew about the tournament, but by the time they announced the tournament, the tickets were already sold out.
right. I mean, they were sold out within hours. So like they would
Yeah.
have had to announce it before they sold tickets, basically.
Well, that and like you have to like expect people to like travel that far and make time for it.
Yeah,
So it's like I think EU might have been more high quality since they're more compact and they have I think it's
Well-
easier to travel around in the EU, correct?
Well, I mean, also people knew that they were doing these tournaments now, right? And so they had an idea this was happening before it even came out. So it was a little bit easier for people to be inspired to go to it. Which
Yeah,
if
I
you
mean,
guys
like,
aren't
we
inspired
did-
to go anyways, you guys suck. Because I mean, FanFest is amazing. But go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say like when we watched NA, we just decided let's go to the FanFest, as you said. We decided way before EU was announced.
Right. So I mean, hopefully they make some good changes. I mean, they apparently have a PvP channel in Japan, right? Called Adrenaline Rush.
they're on TV. Yeah,
I don't know anything about it though. Like I feel like I'm completely excluded from this nice little circle of like serious PvPers that are in Japan. Like that sucks. Go ahead.
yeah. I was just gonna say, I agree with you. I really don't really know anything about it. The only time I even like look at Adrenaline TV or Adrenaline Rush TV is like when they announce something on their channel, and then it gets like trickled down.
Right.
Because as far as I know, like we haven't been made aware of like any like big names in PvP or any special teams or anything like that.
Right.
And as far as the JP FanFest tournament, it was the same as the other two. It was like,
Really?
you know, it wasn't like super competitive or anything.
Well, okay. That was a nice little tangent about tournaments. Let's go
Yeah.
back to advice. So we're going to give a little bit more advice here to you guys. And I'm going to start with, you know what? We'll start with Soup here. Tell me your advice, and I'm going to do it with DPS in general, because you play a monk, right? So how do you deal with a DPS who's just really good at burning people down? How do you like stop that from happening? What's some tips you could give to other players who have to put up with it?
I think it's easier to tell by role. Like if you're a tank, use weapon throw. It is so annoying to get weapon throwed while you're sprinting. It's basically kills any killing potential you had because you wasted your cooldowns. Another tip I will give, usually I see white mages do this a lot. If you see me pop Feather Ward, don't waste anything. Don't waste Fluid Aura, for example. Don't waste Blizzard. You waste casting time, and you're dead. If you like try to Blizzard me while I have Feather Ward, you're gonna die 100%. That's pretty much all I can give, honestly.
Okay. You know what one of my favorite things is? And I do this a lot. Like when I have 4 stacks and they're like, man, this is a good time to kill the tank. We're going to focus on him. I'm like, God, I hope they don't see pushback. And I just pop pushback, put a bloodbath on, and I just go to town on him. It's such like a great feeling just to see that health just zoop straight down because they don't pay attention to what they're doing. But it sucks when no one attacks you. So I don't put any points into pushback. Am I an idiot for that?
What do you play?
Paladin.
Yes, you are.
I'm an idiot for it. But no one ever attacks me.
It doesn't matter. It works with cover.
It works with cover? So that's the thing that I've been trying to discuss, and people have told me that it didn't work with cover. Like the
No,
buff
it does.
They are wrong.
Really?
It does.
They're very wrong.
All right, so good. So I was doing that a lot. Like, and I was doing that during bursts too. Like, I would cover somebody if they're doing like a hard burst at the beginning, and I would pop it. But people were like, "Oh no, don't do that. That's stupid. Buffs don't go through that." I'm like, "Well, shield block does." So I would think that, or Sheltron or whatever would go through it. So I don't know. So
The
all
only
right.
thing that doesn't is hollowed ground. If you
Okay.
pop hollowed, like I see a lot of tanks try to pop hollowed ground while they're in cover, acting like it'll stop the damage, but it's like no,
Okay.
it won't. Like if you actually need to pop your damage reduction cooldowns in cover. Don't bother or with the hollowed ground ever.
I gotcha. Howled Ground is such an amazing ability if you could just get it 5 seconds before you need it. You just have to make sure you know in the next 5 seconds they're going to focus you. You press it, you're good.
Also, I will add another thing that I missed. If you see a melee pop blood for blood, instant focus on him. Like you might cancel it, but then he loses the damage. So you should just hit him as hard as you can to force him to cancel. If he doesn't cancel it, he's gonna die anyway.
Yeah. And I guess that's also like a really good bit of advice too. Just talk about buffs in general. Is get familiar with the buffs and figure out what are your trigger buffs. You see this pop up, then what are you gonna do? Are you gonna switch to this guy because he buffed this? Or are you gonna do this? You got to figure out these different situations, and that just comes from experience. You got to get in there and see it, right? And you got to talk about it.
Yeah.
If you could talk about it.
You can switch the target marker. Like blood for blood's the big one. At lower levels of play, like you could pop blood for the full duration and nobody could ever hit you. But if you put that on, a higher level player is going to notice and they're going to switch to you and definitely kill you, unless maybe you're a Dragoon.
Yeah. And guys, don't use ACT. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say it right now. Don't use it. You guys are fuckheads if you use it. I'm sorry. If any of you guys use it, I don't care. I'm just going to say it. It's stupid. I think it's BS for PvP. But that's all I'm going to say on it. I'm going to skip past it because I don't want to have an in-depth conversation about that because I will get really frustrated. My face will turn red and lots of other things will happen. But when we are talking about all this stuff too, I think people get intimidated when they go into this in PvP, and the whole communication part becomes a big issue. And when we actually get into talking about the Feast Chat, I'm going to talk about how all this actually relates to that, because them removing Feast Chat has developed a community in Discord, basically. I think that it's like completely spurred life in that, and then it's giving some people unfair advantage, kind of, right? Because people in the know, people who are paying attention, they're in the Discord and they can pop into a voice chat and have communications and solo light party, right? Or solo,
Yeah,
sorry, solo party.
Yeah, I mean, you can call it an unfair advantage, but at the same time, it's how the game should be played.
Yep.
I mean, it's a team that, or it's a game. I'm getting ahead of myself. It's a game that by design is team oriented, so there should be communication. Like to have like this weird design where like it's so dependent on all of the moving parts being all 4 roles working together, to sort of limit your communication to such an extreme level is really counterintuitive.
Right. And I feel like that's causing a lot of issues, tons of issues. It makes things kind of unbalanced just by knowing how to get to communication and kind of quickly like, hey, I got 1 minute. Everyone get into this chat, and we're just going to destroy this other team because they don't know how to coordinate nearly as well as we do. Because coordination is so goddamn valuable. It's amazing how much of a difference it makes.
Yeah, in this game, I mean, you have OGCD abilities that if you're playing, 3 jobs that can all coordinate their bursts together, if you hit all of your abilities at the exact same moment, you can create unhealable damage.
Oh, yeah.
Like you could just hit 3 abilities at the same time and it'll do more than somebody's maximum HP.
Yeah.
If you coordinate that.
And I've seen it happen multiple times. I'm like, how do you heal someone in half a second? You don't. Right?
Pre-casting, but
well, I mean, like, so the thing is, you have to react to that too. You got to see their health go down, and you have to react faster than their health hits 0. And with the server delays, I just can't see that happening. By the time you see them being hit, your reaction time is not going to heal them before they die. But then maybe
it's sort of a side note, but the way you get around that as a healer is by pre-casting. It's something that you kind of learn in PvE, where it's like you see the boss casting his big AOE thing, you pre-cast a medica so that your HP instantly goes up as it goes down. You know what I mean?
But if you just start at the pre-cast and then they hit them, they could kill it before the cast goes off, right?
Well, yeah, but that's not a precast.
I guess you're right. Yeah. True. All right, you got it. But yeah, no, it's interesting. Healing is such a... Is it one of the most stressful roles in PvP? It has to be, right?
Yes.
I don't know if Abe would agree, but I think it's the hardest thing in the game.
Just did.
Well, it can be stressful sometimes when you just like lose, like when you feel like you're kind of helpless.
Yeah. It's the worst feeling.
Like I feel like when you're playing healer, when you're like pressured all game, like you have 0 downtime. Like when I'm playing monk, there's sometimes my stuff are on cooldown and I'm just hitting stuff. I'm not doing much. I just like 1, 2, 3.
Like tanks can feel that as well. Like paladins in particular, like they can't do much if their team's like not at the par.
I mean, I feel that a lot. I'm trying to accept it.
Yeah, and specifically with white mage, like if your team is like to the point is that like lopsided, like sometimes like I can't even repose people when I want to or even ever because there's just so much damage, right? And like my team won't be able to do pressure, and at the same time like I can't do anything to help them with that, so
it's rough.
Yeah, it can be rough, but
okay. So I'm gonna. Go ahead, sorry.
But everybody has that, right? Like melee, you can have like a bad healer, right?
But you can kill somebody faster before it matters, right? If you kill,
they're not necessarily bad. Like I keep saying this because like in this game, like it's not like you get the diamond and you play with diamond players now. It's you get the diamond and now you have to like play with lower level people,
right? You don't have anyone above you. I mean,
it's not like League of Legends or like World of Warcraft or whatever, where like, oh, like you get the diamond, now you get to play with the higher tier people. No, it's more like you get higher and the weight dragging you down is getting heavier. So it's like
it's rough. I mean, it has to be that way though. I mean, there's no way to fix that, right?
Yeah, no, it has
a larger player base.
And it also comes with a problem where people stop playing, people don't think that they can get any higher than they already are. Like, oh, I'm top 100. I can't get top 10 no matter how hard I try. So I'm just going to, I'll just get to the spot, and stop playing. And like, you can kind of see this in like a lot of data centers where like for season 3, where you get the diamond and all of a sudden, like winning one game will boost you up at like 30 ranks because that's how it works. People stop playing, and that's where everybody gathers up a majority of the people gather up at the safe spot where like you won't lose top 100
Yeah.
or whatever.
And I mean, and they don't want to play anymore because they're like, what's the point?
Yeah.
You know, you can get anything else.
And so Square Enix just needs to find a way to keep people playing. Like, I always think like the rewards in general, like beyond top 100, are just straight garbage.
Yeah.
Like bracelets, like who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Like
Well, what about rank decay? I mean, would that be good enough to keep people playing?
Yes.
I think that's a lazy way to do it.
But it's
like,
a solution.
Yeah,
it is
a solution.
It is a
yes.
solution, but at the same time, like I think maybe people won't care. Like maybe they'll say like, oh well, playing now isn't worth it. I'll just play later. Like kind of like how I think Soup said it earlier. Like like I'm not gonna play right now. I'm gonna play later after people rank up, right? Or someone said that. I'm not sure who, but.
Well, I mean, I guess no, that makes sense because I mean, you just have to calculate how much do I have to play now. But then again, if you start losing because you don't play a lot and you start to get a little rusty, maybe that's something, right? Because like you're like, I barely play and now I'm playing every once in a while, and these other people who are playing all the time are better. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Like some people maybe don't think that they have to worry about that, but I think the best thing they could do is like, again, like I'm going to World of Warcraft, right? But like they basically have like a currency system similar to lore that you can get weekly. And like you get more points based on your rating. Like the higher rated you are, the more points that you can get. But I personally want to do that with this game, but like I would introduce like weekly currency that you get like for winning games, not losing. And like you do your weekly games for currency that you can buy cool armor with. Like
yeah, like, they have tons of people making armor all day. I mean, they make tons of armor, so I mean, they can definitely do it.
People say that the end game is glamour, right? Well, that is true. Sort of.
Well, I mean, it turns into that.
Like
I think to build off of that,
so,
go ahead, Ava. You can finish.
Yeah, I'll finish. So just make a cool glamour that everybody would want. That's interesting. Like, how like a lot of healers would like plate for once. Like be like a kind of plate healer.
Yeah.
Maybe not like super heavy plate, but like maybe just like plate gloves, like similar to what we got in season 1 and season 2. And people would be all over that. Like it'd be like a variety that people haven't seen.
Okay.
And they'll actually play because like if you don't play like a lot of these people are, then they can't get the currency for the cool stuff.
All right.
So.
Okay. King?
Yeah, I just wanted to build off that. So I guess to start, I'll say like in general, I agree with Ava. I think that rank decay, while it would work, it's sort of, it is the lazy way out, and it sort of would breed contempt for the game mode because then, you are forced to play if you want your rewards. And a lot of people, like me in particular, some days I just don't feel like playing, or some weeks I don't feel like playing. I just, I like to take breaks from it because it's bad for your health. I think the best way to go about it, I do think having more better rewards, number one, because let's face it, like top 10 rewards this season, absolute dog shit. That was the worst. And I think having great rewards that are incentivized in such a way that, number one, it makes you want to play more, and number two, makes you want to get higher on the leaderboard. And I think the best example of that is the way that Overwatch does their ranked rewards. So for those that aren't familiar, you have what they call competitive points. And every time you win a game, you get like 10 points. And to get a reward at the end of the season, the rewards are like golden weapons in Overwatch, and you need like 3,000 points. But depending on how highly you rank at the end of the season, you get a ton. So like if you just play a lot during the season, you can chip away at it little by little, and then at the end of the season get like a huge amount depending on where you placed. But no matter what, like even if you're not placing super high, you're still getting a little bit every time you win to work towards those rewards. So the super good players will get them first, while the people that just work at it little by little will still eventually get them. And I think like having that in addition to what we have now would definitely help.
Okay. I mean, in the end, they're just creating kind of a system, and they have some people making the items, and that's pretty much it. I mean, it doesn't even, it could be level 1 items that do nothing, but as long as it looks cool, that's all that matters, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
PvP
Like,
rewards are all about bragging rights.
Yeah.
Like I would still have the top 100 rewards, top 10 rewards, but they need to add something that normal players can work towards, and
To give people, give you
Yeah,
competition.
but like the normal people that are not in the top 100 and have like no hope of getting into the top 100, like they have no reason to play. Like, oh, I'm gonna get a crappy bracelet or an earring, you know, like a bronze earring, you know, like like, and like
Right.
you can't
Mark
even
of
see them.
shame.
You can't even like see them, right? Like I can imagine right now for season 4 that they're gonna introduce like, oh, a diamond ring, dude. Like,
Oh,
or a bronze ring, man. Like,
Yeah.
like, come on.
They gotta
Like,
give diamond armor. I mean, how hard is it to give diamond armor, right? You
Yeah,
know,
like-
because I mean that's
like-
a Final Fantasy
I hope.
staple. There
you know,
go.
like, so like they have like, you know, rewards for each tier.
Mhm.
You know, like armor that you get as like a bronze player and as a silver player. But that may, I don't know, that might be too much considering like how much armor they make right now. Like they kind of like already reuse a lot of armor.
I
But,
mean,
like that's beyond that. Like, but if anything, that they should just include one armor set that everybody can work towards, no matter what your tier is.
Now, I got a quick question because some of the rewards are like, hey, if you get diamond, you get a diamond title, right? You get a bronze title. Now, if you get that title, when you continue to PvP, will you wear a diamond title on, or will you wear no title at all so people don't know the quality of skill if they don't know you? Like, see, that's how some people, like I do it. I see someone playing, and I'm like, oh, he has a diamond title. He knows what he's doing, so I need to expect that he's going to do things that are very predictable for a player that knows what he's doing. But if he had, like, Bronze Wolf on there, I'm like...
So I should like put on my bronze
Yeah.
title on. Just
But you have to get
fool
bronze
people.
rank. See, that's the thing. You have to get bronze rank in order to get the bronze title.
I had the
think it
silver
has-
one from season 2 because I didn't play.
Oh, okay. There you go.
There's actually a guy on Aether. He's a very, very good dragoon that wears the Bronze Wolf title, even though he's easily a diamond level player. He just doesn't do solo queue that much, so
Yeah.
he wears it to troll.
I think that's amazing, and I think more people should do that because if I see diamond right now, I do have assumptions about you. I'm going to assume that you have an idea, you have experience with it, because you don't know that information going into a match unless if you're just familiar with the names. You don't know who's unranked, you don't know who's bronze. If you don't know the name, likely they're unranked or bronze, right? At
Well,
the
it's-
point that you guys are at.
Probably.
You know, when we're on titles, I just want to say that I want the top 10 title changed.
You don't like
Right
being
now.
the beta wolf, dude?
It actually doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. It should be alpha, right?
yeah.
No, not even. It doesn't make sense for Alpha either, because for Alpha Wolf, that's already a title, but for 5,000 wins in the fold, you know,
Hmm.
in a dead mode, PvP
Right.
mode, right?
Uh-huh.
5,000 wins for Alpha Wolf, but being top 10 apparently is worth less than some. It's worth less than an achievement that you can that pretty much anyone can get if they just like got a group of people and went traded for it. You
They
know?
just said, oh, we already have alpha. They probably, that's what they did is like, hey, we should do alpha wolf. Oh, we already have it. Beta wolf. Okay, there you go. Done.
Well, no,
There's
I
your
mean,
rule.
like-
I'm sorry, but who would wear that title? Like,
If
I'm just
anything,
thinking,
I
would you
bet
put it on?
Lots of people do.
I bet they wanted to put
I
Alpha
question
Wolf
there.
for rank 1,
Mhm.
but it was already taken, so they just did something stupid like leader of the pack. That's
Right.
that's a roundabout way of saying Alpha Wolf.
Right, right.
Then they gave like the other people Beta Wolf, like they originally wanted. But like, it just sounds like so stupid.
Why
Because
don't
like,
they just change the type of the animal? Let's just go to like the next version of PvP is going to be like cheetah mode or something. I don't know. Your top cheetah, dude. I guess that
like
doesn't work
even
out as
then,
well as I
like
wanted
even
to.
if
so.
they add some different like tile, like they just need to change it because it makes zero sense the way it is. It's just like it's just bad translating. Like similar to when they called the dueling square a circle, right? So
Right.
it-
Although-
it's just lazy, and it's like it doesn't make sense to people that actually look into it. you know?
Right. That kind of like see it. Like if I was a player and I'm like, oh, that guy's alpha wolf, that guy's beta wolf. Oh, alpha wolf's better. All right, you
Yeah.
just that's what you think.
Well,
if
even
you're
then,
not familiar with it.
if people are like into like the deep internet, like trolls and stuff,
The
like,
deep internet of trolls.
like they'll call you a beta, and that's like an insult, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah. It's true. Okay, true. So you're feeling all right, Ava, let's have a quick little talk here. You're feeling a little bit of insecurity wearing that title because of the deep internet. Having
Well, no.
assumptions
Well,
about
it's not even that. It even sounds stupid to me normally. Like the top 100 title is Hunter Wolf, right? And that just sounds better than
Okay.
something like beta. Like beta is just like associated with like subordination, like being submissive. Like it doesn't seem like a good thing to be, even though like the correct way to use it is like second, like being second in command, right?
Mhm.
Like,
It's sort of like the
Yep.
societal
That-
acceptance for what the term means now.
yeah,
Yeah.
So
Okay. I
just
gotcha.
like I've put this on the forums before, and they didn't do anything. Obviously,
Yeah,
they
me
don't
too.
really care. They don't really care about that. But,
Okay,
like,
but childs, yeah.
if
I
they end up hearing about this, like please change it. to
Okay, there you go.
Something it's so simple too. You could do like prestigious wolf or vicious wolf or some other like cool adjective word before the word wolf.
Or
That's all
maybe
they would
like
have to do.
like maybe they can make it Master Wolf, and then like rank 1 Grandmaster Wolf.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
works.
makes more sense to where or most games do the rankings. Like
Mhm.
bronze to diamond, and then beyond diamond you have the Master League, and then beyond that you have Grandmaster. Or other games do it differently,
Mm-hmm.
but it's kind of obvious in that way, right? That there's something beyond diamond.
Right. So hopefully we get enough people playing Feast and people just start going through this stuff to where these things start to make it to where they can make it all bronze fight bronze, all silver fight silver, all gold faces gold, and like that stuff will make it a lot better. I think that will change the game dramatically, but we need the population of people playing it. And I feel like people should just, if you, right now you're not raiding, you're not doing anything, you're like, I'm bored of this game, it's stupid. Try to Feast, hang out around, talk to people, and just be in queue for Feast. It's fun, it's worth it. I have so much fun with it. I log in, and I'm like, all right, let's queue in. Let's get in there. Go ahead and start my queue. Go check my gold saucer stuff. And watch Netflix on the side, because that's more entertaining than playing another game, actually, right now. Unless if you guys are playing Zelda, that's a pretty good game right now. It just came out.
I wish. I need a Switch.
But yeah, like if we want the popularity to go up, they need to like actually invest in it, like
Mhm.
with the rewards for everybody.
And it seems like they're kind of making jumps. Like they're doing investments for PvP in general. Like they're making, like they got Toby Wan, right? That was a big deal
Yeah,
for them to get them
That
to
was
announce it.
awesome.
Yeah. So I mean, they're actually making these moves to try to make Feast a little bit more enjoyable. I mean, and just having that and showing there's an aspect of like competitive tournaments out there is a big move for them. And hopefully they continue with that. I don't know how they would do it. Maybe they could start doing stuff like yearly. They'd be like, hey, we're not doing FanFest, but we're going to have this yearly competition in Japan, the Global Feast Tournament or something. And that would be amazing. And
Well,
they
I
should.
kind of think like the rewards this time are kind of like a downgrade from the previous ones of armor,
Mhm.
because like now like you have a mount and all they did was change the color, and then like for top 10 all they did was is an earring, a tiny thing. Like
Mhm.
that's not a lot of work, right?
That's
Compared
really
to-
stupid. Yeah, I agree.
compared to the crowns that we got for top 10 before. Like just having an earring, it's like
And it's true. Who sees earrings?
No one. They're invisible. They're like 3 in-game earrings that are actually visible.
and
So it's like not to be fashion police, but these earrings are like the most tacky pieces of shit they could ever
I
give
know.
us.
Like
I didn't see
I
them.
think that I personally think that they downgraded in comparison, and like
So
but-
that way they're actually moving downwards is with rewards, and they're
but
kinda-
rewards.
I
Yeah,
gotcha.
they kind of got more lazy.
yeah. Well, hopefully they pick that back up, dude. Like, if
So,
they go ahead.
Like it's kind of like me being like a little pessimistic, like thinking like, yeah, they like even though we're saying all this, we need armor for everybody that has access to it, and then like I personally think that might be asking too much
Mhm.
in consideration of like what historically has happened right now.
Okay. So you're actually pessimistic about the future of Feast because of the glamour rewards and the titles and everything else.
Yeah, like I
Okay.
don't feel like I think they're doing less, really.
Okay.
But, like, they are adding like maps and stuff, but like they're not investing as much as they should if they want it to be popular.
Okay. Well, let's hope they come full circle here and they hit that rotation where they're like, hey, we need to actually give more benefit towards serious PvPers and not just getting people into it. Because right now, that's the first thing they did. They're like, how do we get people into it? And so they've done that whole event, right? That's kind of their like initiation thing. They're like, how can I'm going to throw this web out there and catch as many people as I can in it. Some people are going to go away and they're not going to play again, but you're going to get some people from the Goro event, right?
Yeah, like Garo was kind of like the thing that could have helped Feast a lot, but like in the end, like most people are just kind of like spamming front lines, or even like with even Feast wise, they can just go into 8v8s all the time. They don't actually have to play ranked. So
right,
and it's actually faster to play 8s because like you can actually win or lose in 2 minutes. So
yeah,
that happens pretty often in 8s. So
I didn't say it was a very sticky web. But it's going to catch some people, though.
Yeah, I know. But that's why I think like they needed a currency that's like that's weekly locked.
Yeah, it has to be a constant thing.
Yeah, similar to like scripture, and like you can only get a limited amount. Like you can't get the armor instantly like people have in like the Garo event, because like I feel like a lot of people are kind of just playing and like not caring anymore, right? So that's just like it kind of like happens with every season, right? Where people like there's a lot of activity in the beginning, but like slowly people kind of get to the place where they think they're safe and they stop playing. So,
well, you guys aren't safe coming this next season, guys. Trust me. I'm coming for you. And I'm going to bring all my noob friends with me. And we're going to get up there and we're going to dethrone all you guys that just sit there. You guys are going to get rocked. In mid-season, I'm going to be like, guys, here's this crazy new thing we're going to do. We're going to do PvP, and I'm going to advertise it to everybody, and then everyone's going to go up there, and they're going to be really good players coming in here. You guys are going to get pushed down because you just sat on your butts.
I would welcome that.
Just saying.
So.
I would love more competition.
I'm hoping for it, too. I mean, all we need to do is boost the population, and, I mean, there are ways to do that. And I think the game is worth investing getting people into it. I don't think that it's at a point to where we're like, hey, don't play Feast, just stupid, don't worry about it, it's not good enough yet. It's actually kind of a fun game. I mean, it's not like the most serious, it has its issues, right? Every game has its issues, and Feast has a little more issues than some other ones, but it doesn't have enough to detract me from playing. I still have fun every time I get into a match. And let's fight. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's like I think PvP in particular is a great way to like retain players. Like if people like start playing PvP and think it's fun, then they'll all keep playing it, right? It's not like kind of like like raid content where like you kind of beat it and it's like kind of like it's kind of like always the same, and eventually you just stop, right? And like kind of like stop playing the game.
Right.
Like a lot of people do that. They'll only like pay like when the patch comes out, and then like as like it goes on, it gets boring because that's like the only thing to do, and you have nothing else to do, So, but like PvP, it's like kind of like complex in that it's always kind of different, and like you can always keep improving yourself with your rank, and you can actually see yourself improving based on your rank. While in like PvE and like raid content, like you kind of like just have to beat it, right? And it's like it's not really like very clear whether or not you're better than other people. So.
Well, okay. Well, I want to talk a little bit about what I think's actually going to start happening here soon too. Season 4 is going to come out, right? What other content do people have to do at the moment until the expansion? I think with the encouragement that they've done with the event, it's going to get a nice little handful of people, and no one else has anything else to do. They don't want to raid. They already got all the gear they can. They can spam it all day if they want to. But you have Feast, which is an active part. There's an active community out there. A good amount of people playing it, kind of actively. It kind of sucks when I know almost every name in the fight. I get excited when I don't know the names because I'm like, oh, it's a mystery. Is he gonna sleep me? Is my teammate gonna sleep somebody, or am I gonna have to stun the guy? Or am I going to try to stun him after he sleeps? Like, while I'm stunning, is he going to try to sleep at the same time and I'm going to mess up his sleep? I don't know. This is exciting to me. And we're going to have a lot of that, I think, coming up. And you guys might not feel excitement from that, but I do. I love having to figure out all these different situations and try to put it together.
Well, it goes to the, well, I do feel that enthusiasm as well, but like at the same time, right? If you're not top 100, then it's not worth it, right? So like a lot of people will start playing and they'll quit playing. And I've actually seen this a lot on the forums where like, oh, or even on Reddit where they're like, oh, like some people like posted like their Hellhound mount or whatever. And they're like, oh, where did you get that? It's like, oh, top 100 feast. And it's like, oh, well, I guess I'm never going to get that. And like
maybe they'll get, people say that stuff, right? They say, hey, I'm never going to get that, but this is going to ache at them. It's going to like, they're going to get this little urge and they're like, all right, I'll go do it. And then they'll actually get in there and they're like, hey, this is actually kind of fun. They'll get pissed off when their DPS can't kill anyone, but they're going to have some good games. It'll be fun,
here's
right?
Like the problem with like it gaining popularity, right? Like that means there's less people, like proportionate wise, there's less people getting them out, right? Like versus
that's
rewards
okay.
at all, really.
That's
I know.
Then more people start playing.
That's what I'm saying is that if more people play, then less people will get it, and like more people kind of feel like, oh, I'm not even close to top 100. Like,
yeah, and I think that really circles back to what we were talking about earlier too. Like, you need rewards for those middle tier players, the people that aren't the top 100, but they still want to do more than just play 8v8s or frontlines. You know,
so like
they want more than the Wolfmark skier, but they're not quite good enough to get the top rewards.
Yeah, like it'll get popular for a little bit, but like very soon they'll basically be like, well, like I'm not going to get top 100 ever. Like I'm like top 100 is full of diamond players and I'm just gold. Like there's no reason for me to play in the next season for some shitty bracelet or like whatever they're going to do next season, whatever piece of jewelry they'll do next.
I'm going to be honest, I don't think there is a mid tier at the moment. There's like okay players, right? But there's just players who know what they're doing and they're good players who could get in the top 100 if they put the effort into it.
Well, I think, yeah, there is.
Then there's just shitty players.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, there are mid-tier players. Like, there are people like say like, oh, they're bad, but they get into the top 100. And I've seen that a lot. Like where people like don't like someone, but they get in the top 100. And, that.
There you go.
But that just goes into the lack of popularity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
there's a thing
if
too.
more people play, then that you'll stop seeing like the middle tier actually getting in the top 100. So.
Yeah, because that's the thing too. If it did become more popular, you'd see a lot more skilled players come in if it was properly incentivized. Because I mean, there's players I see that are like very well-renowned raiders, as an example in this game, that played back in season 1 and they absolutely crushed it. They played so well. There's a particular machinist from Sargentanis that I'm thinking of, and they actually got to, I think it was like high gold or platinum with like an 80% win rate. But I think they just got bored and like never played again because, it's just not that well incentivized. But if it was incentivized, we'd see a lot more skilled players in the top 100, which would create that mid tier, So if we have like, for example, in the top 100 right now this season, there's like diamond players with like a 45% win rate. Well, if more skilled people came in, you'd boot those guys right out. So you would need something for them then because, they're good on a general, spectrum, but they're not great. But they should still get incentive to keep playing.
I mean, honestly, when you start talking about win rates and everything, like I think an average, like a great player, everyone, 50% is where people are. I mean, that's just kind of what's going to happen. You're always going to get the 50%. You're never going to get to this point to where you're like so good that you're winning almost all your matches. You should
Some
be
people are.
Well,
I mean, it depends on how many games you play.
Yeah. Like everybody's going to hit a wall, and if you hit that wall and keep playing, then you're eventually going to get close to 50%. Like similar to me, like I had like on Aether, like I played so much to the point where I had like maybe like a 57% win rate overall. But like I moved to Chaos, and since like I didn't have that many games and I was climbing, I had a 68% win rate. So like I don't think win rate it is a big indicator of like maybe skill. Like you can get better. Like let's say like you played 1,000 games, like you can go up 100 points by winning 4 games, and all of a sudden you can be diamond and with like maybe even a 30% win rate. It's just that you have to like get better at the game.
Yeah. I mean, and when you're getting into it, you're going to lose, right? And if you're playing and you're gaining skill as you're going up, you're going to have a low win rate. That's fine. Try not to pay attention to win rate, guys, because it reflects like way past. I mean, you can look at this week's win rate, right? You can say, how am I doing this week, right?
Your weekly win rate is what matters. If you're going to kind of rate how well you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But like overall, like that's kind of like like you pushing up, like hitting a wall for a little bit, like,
and you get bad players. And what are you gonna do? You're gonna lose a match, right? It's not all just you.
Or you go against bad players, the same guy in your role, and you just keep queuing into each other, and you just beat him over and over and over because he's that bad. And your win rate spikes.
Okay, true.
I mean, even if you win like a lot of games straight in a row, like if you have enough games played, you winning like 10 games in a row isn't going to change your win rate much, right? So,
yeah,
like if people are gonna judge themselves on win rate, then look at your weekly win rate, or even like maybe your daily win rate, like based on how well you're doing that day. But like,
yeah, I wish we had like information like you reach diamond, and after diamond you have this win rate, for example.
Mm-hmm.
It's really nice to know those.
I have looked on like I think it was like Elemental maybe, and like, well, you can like look at every data center. There are players with over 1,000 games played on just one character, and like you'll see that they'll have a very low run rate in comparison to other people. That's because they just kept playing and they didn't care, like, so if you care about your overall win rate, the best thing to do is like kind of like when you think like you're losing a lot, is just to stop playing,
Yeah, well, I mean, like, and there's a good point here in chat too, right? People, climb late and then they're like, hey, I got a high win rate. But people who climbed early, it's a cluster. It's a cluster winning games. You get really good players, really bad players. It's all mixed everywhere. And so it's really easy to lose games, but still climb the ladder perfectly fine. And so like someone's later, like in the last week, they're like, yeah, I'm a really good player, and I just climbed through like ranks just like everyone else would, and the tiers match up pretty well. I'm playing against crap players, but I'm the reason they're winning. I'm carrying all my teams up. Yeah, you'll have a high 80% win rate, but that's late season stuff, right? Early season, you can't really expect that as much either. So it's just so weird. It's so goddamn weird when people go in there and they start basing information on are basing, their judgments on little bits of information like that, because it doesn't really apply as well as they think it does.
Well, yeah, that's another thing. Like a lot of players will say like, oh, I don't have time to get into top 100. They kind of rationalize it that way. But like they'll go like, oh, like I can't play 1,000 games like this guy. Like that's the only reason why he's in top 100. Well, that's not how it works, because you can easily just win, like 4 games in a row. That's not a lot, right? But that puts you up another 100 points. That's how the rating in this game works, and like,
So,
but I think the problem with that is the new season. Like you can climb with high win rate, but you can also play 2,000 matches and be on the top 100 with a low win rate. Like comparing this to season 1, I was ranked 30 with around 100 games with 60% win rate. It's not that high. Like I think they have to go back to season 1 maybe, or adjust a bit more how they gain points.
I'd like to see them try it again at least. Season 1 had the best matchmaking.
I agree.
It just didn't work at higher ranks because, once you hit platinum, you couldn't be paired with anybody below gold. And it was hard to get to gold, harder to get to gold back then. So like I remember one of my friends had hit platinum and he would have like 45-minute long queues.
No,
like absurd.
In season 1, I've played with silver players. I don't think that's true.
As platinum?
Yeah. Like,
really?
I don't think it's true.
Yeah, you can play with silver.
No,
they announced it as 1.
Really?
But yeah, they announced it as 1, but you could still get matched by 2 tiers.
Yeah. So it would still prioritize the gold and silver
yeah.
players together
Yeah,
first.
after a long while.
Okay.
I mean, I think I even had a bronze player once. Like it was a Dark Knight, but like I won't go. I won't go into that.
Yeah. Dark Knights are in a better spot than they were, though, right? They're not.
That was like my last game in like season 1, and like I had gotten to like maybe 2050 max in season 1, but then I started getting this Dark Knight that pissed me off. So I'm like,
Fair enough. No names. We're not going into all that.
No,
though.
I don't even remember that. I don't even remember his name. That's how long ago it was. But like, it was just a random Dark Knight. So
random Dark Knight. God damn those random Dark Knights.
that's another thing. That's the problem is general balance in this game. It's like if we want to talk about that.
Yeah, no, we could talk about like so when I'm actually thinking about balance, I really don't think it's that bad. All I can think of is like, hey, Dark Knights are not the best tank. They're pretty low. Then I think Scholar's not the best healer, although that's apparently what won EU Fan Fest, right? And then there's ninjas aren't the best DPS. That's the only thing that comes to mind. I mean, is it really that bad?
Yeah, it's actually really bad. And the problem is, so other games are this bad too. WoW, I think, is the easily comparable example. It's about as bad as WoW in terms of viability. Actually, maybe not as bad as WoW in some cases.
Well,
the difference is there's never any variance, right? Like they don't change up the flavor. Like we've been in season 3, I think it was like 5 months long, and the only change we got was a 5% nerf to Fist of Earth. So we have jobs like Dark Knight, Ninja, to some extent Summoner and Black Mage in certain cases, Bard, Ninja, of course. I think I already said Ninja, Scholar, like all those underpowered jobs. They haven't really seen any changes since season 1 when they got like very minor buffs, and it makes the meta kind of stale because you just see the same jobs played by the same players over and over. And I just want to emphasize how bad it is because you can have there is a player who is typically monk. He's one of the best monks on the whole data center playing ninja right now. And even though he's playing ninja, he's still not as good as a slightly above average monk just because of all the utility, all the defensive capability, and just the better burst that monk brings to the table. It's one of those things like the jobs that they have in there, their weaknesses are just so apparent that it's just not even worth playing them. Because we also play a game right now, Final Fantasy XIV in general, where most of the jobs are homogenized in their strengths for the most part. So for example, you say, oh, well, Bard has, pretty decent burst. Well, okay, well, so do the other 2 melee as well. The difference is that Dragoon has, better mobility and Monk has way higher defense and better utility. Neither of those things Ninja brings. So.
Right. Well, and we're talking about PvE, of course, or PvP, right? Not PvE.
PvP, yeah,
okay,
not PvP.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. I feel like it's if someone went out there and they want to be like Dark Knight, Scholar, Ninja, and then what's another one that would make it really bad?
Bard, probably at this point.
All right,
Bard.
Bard can be successful, but it's it's so based on their super arrows, like that they do. Yeah. It's so based around them one-shotting people like every 2 minutes or so, that if they can't do that, like if they can't do it like in a game at all, then they're kind of worthless, like otherwise like they're just spamming their dots and bloodletter the whole time,
So at a high level, it's really
about
easy
bards.
to stop bards.
Yeah, like we're talking like comparing bards and machinists. Machinists can do what the bard does in terms of burst. Maybe bard is a bit higher, I'd say, in damage wise, but machinist does it faster. They also have so much more CC, so much more utility. They can reduce damage. They can stun. They can silence. They can push back.
Also, I think machinists have a better way of like regenerating mana than bards do. Like bards have to actually sacrifice their damage, I think.
The turret does actually a lot of damage, but I guess it's not part of your burst.
But the turret isn't like huge, and like you can still burst without the turret.
I think a way to position that is, if you're playing your MP song, you can still do your individual burst by yourself and not have any penalties to your Gauss round ricochet between the eyes. Whereas, if a certain bard decides to, use the Barrage Imperial Arrow while they have, mages ballad up, it's going to be doing what, 15% less damage, 25% less damage, something like that.
Then they're not going to one-shot someone, right? So it's like,
yeah. So no, that makes sense. I don't know. Maybe I just haven't felt it. I feel like if you have a good player on like a bard versus a machinist, it's going to turn out the same result on the match because they're gonna be able to kill people as cleanly as they would on the other job. Maybe I'm not in that. Are we talking like super high tier kind of play? Or are we talking about just like basic like mid tier, the non-existent mid tier?
I think it happens like a lot, like because like in my games in particular, if I get a bard, usually that bard isn't that great, right? And if the other team has a machinist that's like the same rank, then you can kind of see the difference in that their machinist is doing a lot more pressure while the bard isn't doing a lot, right? They're not one-shotting people, and then they just kind of like they're kind of just there.
I mean, are bards better at like burning healers' mana quicker or no?
No. Machinist puts more pressure, even with higher damage. Like a clean shot crit can actually cancel a heal.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's so annoying to play against.
A rook turret auto attack can cancel a heal.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, if it hits high enough.
Huh. Well, I don't know. Okay. So you guys think it's unbalanced. For some reason, I'm under this crazy illusion that it's really not that bad. Maybe that's because I'm not a great player.
Well,
but, I mean,
I think it's because not a lot of people play those roles, right? And I think it's a preseason, so everybody's kind of just playing whatever they want,
right?
And not really caring.
Okay.
And then like, I think I said this before earlier. There was like there is role disparity. You know, tanks. Don't, maybe warriors can actually do something sometimes, but like in particular tanks as a whole, they don't have a lot of carry potential as much as maybe like a healer or ranged, while melee are on top of it, you know, in terms of being able to, you know, like if you're like, imagine if like the best player on the team is like a melee on one team and the other team is like a best player on ranged, and they're like both equal skill, then probably the melee player is going to win because they have things like melee limit break, which is like something that I haven't touched on at all right now, but like melee limit break is retarded. Like,
I think everyone agrees with that.
I hate it so much. I hate limit break in general, but
and then you get casted more now. Two boxes.
I hate melee limit break, and even more now because they added more adrenaline. They added more, so it's
I mean, that's what spices it up, guys. I mean, people who know how to use limit break.
It does not.
That's what I mean. Like it can spice it up, but it's unfair for like, say like I'm playing against another great, say like this is just for me, but like say I'm playing against like the like the rank 1 monk or or the rank 3 monk or whatever. Like he'll be able to like get all the boxes because he knows what to do. They go after their adrenaline because that's such a big part of the game, and like the other boxes. But my team, you know, with gold DPS or whatever, they kind of just tunnel vision. They don't give a shit, you know, or whatever, or they just
even if they try to go for the box, they lose it because the other guy's just better at getting it.
And like, you know, I can't compete. Like the other team's basically getting all the boxes while I'm kind of just like flailing around, like going like, oh my god, why did they get both DPS boxes? Like, and it's just like, it's horrible, you know.
Sucks, yeah. How do you guys feel? Just on a quick note on that, teams who run over on the new map, they run over and try to get the boxes.
I love that.
Do you love that?
I think that's an awesome addition. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like it, honestly.
Ava was like, all right, tell me your thoughts, Ava, on that.
Well, you know, like that's an interesting thing. It's just that, you know, like warriors, they can't build their stacks anymore. Mugs can't build Grease Lightning anymore. So
it kind of sucks. I mean, it makes it a different map, basically, by that just doing that. You're like, hey, the players are going to be a little bit different. Some jobs are going to be a little bit more powerful. Some are going to be a little bit weaker.
But, you know, if it was me, I wouldn't have any boxes or anything like that at all. It's like, if anything, like it gives the other team that actually knows how to use the boxes and when to get them an unfair advantage, you know, like, and especially like even in lower ranks where like, you know, you'll have like tanks taking the defense buff or whatever reason. And it's like, and you can't even tell them in chat, you know. And
my favorite thing that I saw when I was going through that first couple weeks of PvP and getting reintroduced of it is that I had a healer take the offensive buff at the beginning of the match.
Yeah, they just So like I'd rather not have boxes that
I like it.
it's just unfair. Like
I like it because look, they got the offensive buff. I know I have a weak healer. I know this is bad, so I know I have to play against that. So it kind of, it's a tell.
He had a healer who had read on the forums, as he said, that the buff increased healing, and he would insist on taking it. We wouldn't be able to tell. Like, he wouldn't listen to us, and he'd just take it every game. I don't even want to remember it.
I mean, just to make a match fair, like this is what I said earlier. Like if, like, say like your team kills someone in like maybe the first minute, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like the other team kills someone when the boxes spawn, then you're not really rewarded for killing someone in the first minute, right? But like you think it would
be. But that's okay.
You think it. Well, I know, but like you think that killing people would actually be an advantage, but like instead it's like, well, you killed someone right now, but like it doesn't really matter as much as killing someone, at some other time, like, and you can't really control when people get killed, right? Because it's really random, and I don't really like randomness.
Well, I mean, it depends. Like in the solo queue, yeah, for sure. That's a huge thing. And, they kind of have it where if no one dies in the new maps, it seems like, if no one dies in that first part, culling hits at the same time adrenaline pops, right?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of a weird situation. Because my understanding with listening to your most recent PvP talk, King, is that JP players, they like to linger on, right? They don't like to...
yeah, they wait for culling.
Right. And so now culling is happening at the same time as adrenaline, so I guess the idea would be kill adrenaline, then kill them, but if you don't do that and they focus your DPS real quick, because they could kill you because culling just started, it'll be really easy to kill you if they have all their buffs up too, right?
One of the things that's really come into the meta now, and this is on the new map in particular, a lot of people are playing Black Mage, and what can happen is if no deaths happen and culling starts when the boxes come up, a Black Mage will just sit there and spam fire 4s on the melee that's trying to get the box. Because they're not actively trying to line of sight them. They're not being pressured because people are trying to get the adrenaline box. So they'll just sit there and fire away. And it's actually unhealable unless you like blow a ton of stuff.
Okay. I'm going to give a frosty opinion real quick. And you guys are probably going to be like, this idiot. But I kind of like that these situations are here because then it turns into a strategy game that I have to kind of understand and figure out what do I need to do. All right, I know this is not a strong kill at the beginning of the game. I'm okay with that because that means that like I understand the situation. I'm going to do a little bit better because I understand how this match works. It works out a little bit better in my favor. And if we have a really powerful team, we could just completely kill all of them and just win the game. But the thing is, like, I enjoy that. Like, same thing like if you're playing chess, right? You have to think about what's going to happen. The next situation, I should send all my units in there to kill them. I'm going to die because they're going to place their units properly and kill me. I kind of like that thought process when going into PvP. But, I mean, I guess it would be really interesting. A lot of players who are PvPing right now come from, the previous PvP style where you just kill each other, right? And so it's kind of like a weird adjustment going into that. And I feel like if they went back and they said, hey, we're going to have that mode plus Feast, it would hurt PvP. Because you're adding too many options and you're filtering the players, which is already too crazy of a population right now. And you need to get all of the population funneled into one area, which is Feast right now. And I think they're trying to do that with the tournaments and promoting everything else with Feast. And I mean, you look better if you do well in Feast. You do really great in Frontline. Who cares? Right?
Well, I just think the boxes are just a gimmick, and it goes to the thing where like, Shatter is more about killing crystals and not people, right?
Right.
And like that's similar with the boxes. Like, the boxes are so like important that it's like I can't do anything myself as a healer to get those boxes, right?
How do you feel about that cleric stance change? Do you think that they should revert that?
No, I don't.
No.
But the thing is, it's like I can't do anything to get the boxes, while the other team, like, well, since usually like with my rank, right, I get the DPS that don't really, think about the boxes, right? So most of the time, but like, it just seems like a gimmick that's reminiscent of like just going to attack crystals, and that's like more beneficial than actually like PvPing, right?
And actually, I feel pretty strongly about this one too.
It's like same thing with the Wolf's Heart that they just added. Like they added another box of all things. They added more adrenaline, and they added this like stupid buff that makes one person a superstar and basically like gives a free win.
Okay.
But there was like something we discussed among my friends for a while. If there were no boxes, would you leave the spawn? Wouldn't you just sit at the base because it's more advantageous to spawn faster there? There has to be a reason to move to mid. Like the mid control has to happen.
It's true.
True, but like at the same time, like if you have to move in, right? Like,
well,
you wouldn't want to sit in the base. Okay, so this is just like a strategy thing, right? Number one, depending on the job, if you're just sitting in that little cubby, you're totally susceptible to line of sight, right? And it's sort of enclosed. So the reason you left your base in the fold was because you didn't want to deal with Summoner's Bane. You needed your healer to get out of line of sight because it was much harder to just sit there and cast because auto attacks would interrupt you. So you sort of needed to play around the walls in order to be more defensive. So I think we'd see the same thing, but I also think that we would see a lot more summoners if people started doing that.
Wouldn't people just sit towards your base? Like would the other team push you into your base though? I mean, if it was really that bad of a situation being in the base?
On these current maps, yeah, probably. You'd see situations where the healers would just, like, for example, on the Lycanweed map, you could just put your healer behind that little tree, and then the rest of you could sort of just, like, sit outside their base and wait for them.
Yeah.
But, like,
you're
you're
taking
taking
invincibility
just
for
the
10
mid.
seconds.
You're just saying mid. I'm just saying, like, okay, let's go back to the first feast map. You don't have to be up there. You can just be around the first area where the boxes spawn. It's not that bad. Like, you won't get banes. It's
it is an interesting point, but like, like, I don't know, like, I guess there should be something that pushes people to the middle. Maybe like with the new map, the base, it's pretty cramped, right? And
yeah.
that
new map is fine. Yeah.
That actually doesn't. You actually don't want to go there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's like so cramped, and like there's no defensive value in that at all. You can't line of sight like in the previous map,
and you can't even sit outside of it because of the slant.
Yeah.
I mean, so like it is a fair point to say like, yeah, like the adrenaline, like maybe you do like in the previous map that you need people.
It encourages you.
Yeah, it's for the previous map. Yeah, I was thinking of the previous map when I was talking about it.
Yeah, like I think it was a huge mistake to add more.
Okay.
Like it's like.
You think that they should just have one box spawn each time? But then again, like that would mean that like whoever controls that point will win the game just by controlling that point. If you do it in two different spots, you kind of have a chance for things to turn out a little bit differently. And if you're really, really good at getting boxes, then you could be really ahead.
But it just ends up with one team getting bought boxes mostly, so it's even worse now.
I know. So like maybe like they should have something in the middle map, but like.
Something less impactful, but still important.
But like, it just goes to like melee limit break for me because like it's
because you hate melee limit break.
Yeah, and here's the thing: like,
adrenaline is prioritized for melees, and for good reason because it's the most overpowered limit break there is, and it affects the game the most too.
No.
So I kind of want to circle back on boxes since like this is sort of what we're talking about. I think it's fine to have the objective, like you said, to have something to go for. The problem is that the way they're in the game right now, they are, obviously meant to help lesser skilled players get kills or stay alive. So like, for example, you give defense to a new healer, they're going to have less trouble healing because, they're not going to get interrupted or killed as fast. You give offense to a less skilled DPS, they're going to have an easier time getting kills because they're doing more damage. You give limit break to people, they have an easier time getting kills because, you press one button and it one-shots something. The problem there is that the skilled players who already can do everything with the own tools that the jobs come with just abuse these extra things. And that's really not something that Square Enix is looking at, unfortunately, because like this Wolf's Heart buff, for example, is absolutely broken.
Yep.
And I feel like,
well, I mean, like
if
right
you
now,
have things in the game that are that powerful, it's just ridiculous. So I think they just do need to tone it back.
They are looking into it because I mean, they introduced it and said, "Hey, we can't start the season. Duh, we just introduced something new. We got to make sure that we test everything out and see how it works out." And depending on the response they give us before they start their season and how they change the Wolf's Heart or how they change anything else before they get into the season will tell us what kind of attention they're putting towards it. So this is a really great tell.
I don't want to shit on them too bad, but they did also tell us that they'd like to see our feedback on the quick chat feature in Feast. And, patch 5 or 3.55A brought us the awesome addition of collecting Wolf's Heart.
So, okay, that's true. That's
Still
true.
no mana. Still no mana.
There are things that we need to change. I mean, and I think that needs to be an obvious thing. We need to say, hey, there's issues with it, and we need to make it clear. All right, since we're on the PvP show, and I'm going to take a quick second away from the topics, and we're going to go back to them real quick, and then we're getting towards the later end of the show, but I wanted to go ahead because this is really relevant. I got the 100th show coming up soon, right? So I was thinking, man, what can I do? What would be really, really just nice to do on the 100th episode? And so I talked to a handful of people, and I made a list of questions, and I sent them towards Yoshi P. And I was like, if you could answer these for me and give me an official response on them, I would put this towards the 100th episode. I don't have those responses yet, but I had confirmation I'm going to get a response. One of the questions is, with Feast, is it going to be removed or changed in any way in the future, seeing that there's so many issues with it? I can quote it real quick for you, too. Hold on. So you guys can tell me if I said this right.
I think I get your point. Like, are they going to remove it with 4.0, or are they going to continue to improve it and bring it up to level 70? Right? Like, that's what you're thinking?
Well, I mean, like, I have it in this list, and I don't know if, hopefully it was phrased in a way that people will be kind of happy about it. At the moment, every PvPer has spoken, I have spoken to, have claimed that the disable of chat in Feast is a major factor to why they don't want to participate in Feast anymore. While it's understood that this is meant to reduce toxicity, it harms competitive strategies players might want to try to develop as a means to teach other players. Are there any plans to revert this change? And so I'm hoping that I get some sort of response from that says, hey, if no, we're not going to do it. All right, well, what's the plan? All right. The other response is, hey, yeah, maybe we're going to try to figure out another way of doing this. So we got to answer incoming, guys. Hold tight.
I can predict it. Can I predict it?
Yeah, they're going to say no.
Please provide us feedback on the official forums.
Okay.
If anything, it's easier for people to be toxic because they'll just spam nice job.
Yeah, pretty much. Nice job.
It's weird. Okay, let's talk about this a little bit because this is a pretty important topic. It's the Feast and them disabling it. Everyone hates it. There's not a person who said, oh, I like it. Are you guys getting even remotely used to not having it?
No.
Well, it's like you said, we're using voice chat instead.
Right. And so now you're going into a whole different means if you're a serious PvPer. You're getting rid of the need for it. And so I think, like, going forward, they might need to just remove it. I don't know. If they're already banning people who's toxic, then just, all right, that's fine. Ban people who's toxic. It'll happen.
What they need to do, and I did a huge write-up on this before it even came out. Like, when it was first talked about, like first brought up, I did a huge thing on it on the forums. And it's like the most traction a post has ever gotten on the PvP forums. So what they needed to do was, because here's the thing. I mean, I'm a little biased, but getting your account permanently banned, it's a little extreme just for trash talking, right? They should have done like what they did, what they do in other games. Just put the quick chat feature in for people that are toxic. Say, hey, you're getting a little out of hand. You know, you're being a bit of a rapscallion. We're going to throw this on your account for, you know, the rest of the season or for a week or whatever. And, you know, when people get that, they're like, wow, not being able to talk to people and communicate really sucks dick, right? And then they're going to stop doing it because they don't want to use those quick chat commands anymore. That system sucks. So then moving forward, they'll be less toxic.
So you think that people should be like, hey, this is an asshole. So if they get enough complaints, they get a sort of chat ban.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty much.
Okay. But then it would be in the same state it is right now. No one's still going to be able to talk to each other because everybody's going to get chat banned.
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I've never seen that much toxicity. Everyone's talking like everyone insults each other. I've barely seen any. I don't understand what people are talking about, honestly. The worst I've seen is macro spam, and that's actually useful in most cases.
In macro spam, I mean, again, my first ban ever was actually for macro spam. I was telling a tank to go into tank stance, and he wasn't doing it, so I kept hitting it, right? And, you know, I got banned for that for 3 days. but it wasn't malicious. I wasn't trying to spam, like I wasn't, doing it to the intent of annoying him. I did it for visibility. He had to see it. Like PvP is, an adrenaline filled, high octane environment. He's probably not looking at his chat logs, but if I hit it enough, maybe he'll see that the chat is scrolling really fast and he'll be like, oh shit, maybe I should put on shield oath,
Right. So what if they just kind of limit, like right now you can't really spam super fast, right? You can just hit it and then every like 2 seconds or so. I don't know what the limit is between different messages, but I mean, it's not so bad. I mean, you spam it.
They should just have that as a standard for all macros, I think.
Yeah, just a standard for chat and feast. Like you can't type that fast. You can't just bam, 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 bam. And I mean, if you're doing macros like, and you're trying to make like a stupid little IC or whatever you call it image, you got to do it really quick, right? You can't have like people putting messages in between your little image. Yeah. So, all right.
Yeah. I forgot that would really,
who would want to
put a
ruin
damper
those?
on Derp's fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Jesus. But no. I think there are other methods to it that should be investigated. And I hope that they will take the feedback for it. Like if they want to promote Feast and they want it to move forward, they have to do some things that will help it move forward. And I don't know if they have like a psychiatrist on board and they're like, this is going to increase PvP. And like they just know, they're like, hey players, I know PvP players really well. I know them extremely well. And I know if you disable chat, more people are going to be like, oh, this is accessible. I can do this.
There's no way.
They're just lazy,
I don't want to be
honestly.
like too hypercritical, but Square Enix, as of right now, has no idea what they're doing when it comes to PvP.
I would say that's not 100% true.
Look, I mean, I don't know. Like you look at Shatter, you look at the medal system. Okay, yeah, they're inexperienced. Okay. But to me, it's sort of silly to do those things and make those mistakes when similar companies for similar games have done those things in the past, made the same mistakes, and you can see historically that they didn't work out. So I feel like they really just need to do a little bit more research, see what works, and try to stick with that. Because I mean, PvP should be really simple.
I mean, it's not. PvP is not simple at all, man.
But to create it,
we wouldn't be here complaining about it. I mean, like you go into any kind of PvP forum anywhere, someone's complaining about something. Something's.
Oh yeah, because that's the spirit of competition.
All right.
Everything's always unfair. It's always unbalanced.
Yeah, and I mean, like, just because like Yoshida has experience with PvP doesn't mean that like his entire team that's developing PvP has experience with it. All right, and there's other factors to MMO. There's tons of things that they're like constantly trying to get all these moving factors working, but PvP is an important one that they are starting to try to take advantage of, and they have to do it slowly because this game wasn't built for PvP.
Well, I mean, it's an MMORPG, so I think in general, when you have a massively multiplayer online role-playing game, right? Massively multiplayer is the first part of that.
Right. Yeah.
Multiplayer, multi-people, several people. What do you do when you get multiple people together in the same place? Well, you communicate, right? Imagine if they took chat out for raids, for dungeons, for everything. Imagine if it was just, you could only speak in quick chat in any other part of the game. It'd be bullshit, right? Would you play this game if you couldn't talk to people? Why are we here now, right? We're talking right now. This whole game is about being involved in, these several different smaller communities, the larger community of the game. So to take that part out of PvP, like there's no better word for it. It's just really asinine. Like to think that this would work.
It makes sense to me. I mean, what you're saying makes complete sense. And I think that they should just get more on top of just finding ways to punish people who are toxic. If that's really an issue, then it's the GM's job to manage that. Because that's apparently what the best thing they're good at, right? They're really good at that. There's other things that we would wish they were good at that we're not going to go into a huge conversation about. But that's what their main role is.
They're good at banning toxic people.
Yeah, toxic people. They want to make sure that people are not mentally upset. They're not jumping off bridges because King told them to go fuck themselves because they picked up too many medals. All right? So we're doing this. They're good at that. Let them do their job. I think that would be a really great start. And now, whatever response I get, I'm going to accept it because I have to accept it, right? I have to say, hey, this is what they said. I'm going to say, I'm going to play, and I'm going to try to make it work. If I don't have fun with it, then I'm not going to play it, right? I mean, you guys are eventually going to be like, man, this really isn't fun anymore. I'm going to go and get my top rank and then see you later, and that's kind of the thing. You guys like doing it, but you wish it would be a lot better because it could be a lot better.
Exactly. And I think that's the important thing to say, too, is like we are being very critical of it right now, but the reason we're so critical, and I think I speak for Soup and Ava as well, is because we do like the basic, idea of the game. You know, we do like it. We just, you know, see how it could improve.
Yeah, and this is an important way for it to improve, and I think that it would make a major change. I don't know this whole timeout period that we're having. I hope it's a timeout period. You know, I think it's just like, hey guys, look what we can do. This is what happened because you guys are toxic. We'll take it away. Don't talk shit anymore, and then everyone talks shit again, and then gets back in the game. But I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weird, and I wish I could have an in-depth conversation, and I could sit down, and I could say, hey, let's talk about this with one of the developers, or Yoshi, or whoever, and just say, hey, let's have a back and forth and actually discuss this logically. How does this stuff make sense?
I wish they would do that.
But,
I really
Yeah,
wish.
I wish.
That's really hard to do, and I think
But it's...
Go ahead.
Sorry. Okay, I was just going to say it's one extreme versus the other. You know, they don't have to like sit down and give us this in-depth like logical analysis of why they made the decision, but they're on the other end of the extreme here, right? The only response we got was a forum post like 6 months after the topic came up and after it was already implemented, and all it said was, hey guys, we appreciate the feedback. Please tell us how we can improve the system. When, you know, the hundreds of posts on that forum thread say, hey, this isn't a good idea, don't do it, get rid of it, like get it out of here. And they sort of just ignored that, right? They've been dodging around the fact that people just don't want it.
Right.
So I think if they just came up and if they said, hey guys, we know you don't want it, we hear you, we're just going to see how it plays out, please continue to give us feedback, that would have been way better.
Like, we created this huge community. We have this Discord, we have websites. Like, did they ever come to us and ask for feedback? We would give them to it. Like, they're not reaching to us. We're trying to reach them. They won't reply. There's like nothing we can do. Just...
So you think the communication between like at least NAEU PvP and the development team is non-existent? Like the people or the community people. I'll say this real quick because I've talked to the community team a lot. I've talked to every single one of those guys, and I like them. I think they're good people, and I know what their limits are. I know what they can and can't do, and it's just part of being, you know, in the role they are. But this stuff, do you feel like maybe like the JP side, like things that they voice out is going to get heard a little bit better just because that's native to the company that makes the game?
I'll
Yes,
give an
because-
example. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Sue. Okay. You
Okay.
sure?
Okay, I'll go. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll give a frontline example from Frontlines. Shatter, there was a change to the ice that would take 20% less damage from magic. So black mages and summoners would do less damage to it. This is because in JP data centers they have these premates of 6 black mages or 6 summoners that would just rain LBs on everyone, and they wanted to stop them from doing this. But this is not a problem in other data centers, so you can see they listen to their Japanese player base more, and we would never get something like this, I think.
Another example is black mages got nerfed. Well, black mages aren't a problem in NA or Europe. So, I mean,
Okay.
that, and maybe since, you know, maybe black mages are a bigger thing in Japan and over there,
Okay.
maybe that's why they're increasing adrenaline and not really addressing how like melee limit break is like always the people with melee limit break always get the adrenaline. So
Okay.
yeah. So
And can I respond to something in chat real quick, just
Sure.
because it sort of pertains? So Dark Iron said, you know, they answer questions during FanFest, so we're lying right now, and during live letters. And I would just like to point out a very specific, super topical example. At the EU FanFest, you know, they had a forum post, as they always do, saying, hey, post your questions here, we'll answer them live. The most upvoted question on that thread for the EU FanFest live letter was about the chat ban and asking if they could address it. It said, hey, like nobody likes this. Can you please let us know if it's going to be removed or whatever? And most upvoted by far. It had like 80 likes, and like the next highest had like 20 something.
Okay.
And they did not answer it at all. So I know that there's a reason. It's probably because they don't have a solid answer. Because you know, SC doesn't like going back on what they say a lot of times. But at the same time, they do skip over stuff. So I just wanted to address that in the chat real quick.
Yeah, I mean they do. There are. I mean, I'm going to say this, and it sounds like an excuse, and I already know it sounds like an excuse before I even say it, so I'd have to declare that. But they are a company. You have to start thinking about business things and shareholders and all this other crap, and that's why people are like, oh, they only care about casuals because they can get lots of casuals to play the game. And that's true, but in the end, the casuals have someone to look up to, and it becomes a vocal minority of really good players. And that's why I've always supported hardcore raiders and giving them something to do, because it's a carrot at the very end of the stick. They're like, I can achieve this if I try hard, or I look up to this guy and so I'm going to play warrior and I like this, and it's things that get you amped into the game. And I feel like that's something that needs to be catered to for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I would just remember, and it's okay. So I have two things I want to talk about to build off of that. They're going to be quick, I promise. And I'm going to seem like some sort of like a Blizzard shill or something. But I started with WoW, so it kind of makes sense, right? But when I first started playing World of Warcraft, right, it was vanilla WoW. I log in and I see this dude standing around the major city. He's got this badass armor. Looks like he's wearing like a fucking suit made out of lava, right? He's got like this giant lava hammer, and I'm just like, whoa, how the hell do I get that? And then like you look it up online, you're like, okay, how do I get this gear? And it's like, oh, I got to beat the hardest thing in the game. And if I want to do that, it's going to be like, a 700-hour progressive process. I'm going to have to, work with all these people, do all this different stuff to get to that level. But I mean, that just sort of inspired me like, okay, well, I want to get there. So now I have this game that I'm playing and I have this huge long-term goal. And if they take those out, then, you're just sort of doing your dailies. You're like, I'm just sort of doing this game like clockwork instead of having something to work towards. The other thing is actually a response to what you said at first, right? Where like they're a business, they have to pick their responses carefully. And I think this goes back to seeing what their competitors are doing. So again, Blizzard example, if you guys follow Overwatch at all, they do developer updates. So it's very similar to the live letter, right? Except they're on a smaller scale. It's not like a 2-hour-long thing where they cover everything in the patch. It's more of just like a very intimate, personal, like short video where they just go over their changes and their thoughts behind it. And I think that's a really important thing to emphasize is their thoughts behind it. So the players know where they're coming from when they do this kind of stuff. And I feel like Square Enix does do that for some things. Like they have been pretty transparent about raid difficulty, pretty humble when talking about the diadem and stuff like that. But at the same time, with a lot of these changes, they do need to be more transparent. They do need to give us a little bit more just that we understand where they're coming from. Because if we have that understanding, we can probably give them better feedback, right?
Well, that's okay. So that's a good statement. The only thing I'll say to that is that I feel like they also, when they say things like diadem, they have an answer for it after they explain it. Like things like they have when they start to get the answers for what's happening, they start talking about the past and the issues. So they can say, hey, we have problems, but here's your solutions. And that's a good thing for a company to do, right? If you're not going to say, hey, this sucks, I'm officially stating this is a bad part of the game. It's not logical to do that, right? You don't want to just say, hey, there's bad things about my game and I'm openly admitting and telling everyone. You want to say, this is bad, this is what we're working on, and this is the solution we're giving you here in the next patch. And it seems like that's what they've been doing. Except for when, they announced, we know some people have issues with some things, but, Paladin's in a bad spot in reference to rating. And they said that really quick and then they were done.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I feel like they don't even have to do like videos or, talk about it at the live letter, but just having maybe some people be more active on the forums, just letting people know that, they know the concerns and they're working on them, I think would go a long way. So, I mean, this is sort of off topic, but I know you can probably relate to this, Frosty, is like the whole thing with Paladins. I feel like they should adjust jobs a little bit more frequently. Because, Paladins have been in a bad place the entire expansion, and they have gotten no love, except for Shield Swipe, but...
And that was a nerf to your TP, so... But, it wasn't a big deal in Creator, because fights had better points for you to regain your TP, and that they kind of nerfed jobs by the fights, too. Like, Paladin was... I'm going to be honest, in Creator, Paladin was fine until you hit 12, and then it's like, it's obviously worse, unless if you have a Dark Knight. Dark Knight is completely overpowered for a tank in that fight, but I still cleared it with Paladin because I was like, screw it, I'm going to play Paladin. It's done.
But I think the thing is, the thing to take away from that is Paladins were in trouble at the very start of the expansion, and it was very clear when you hit like A3 and A4. But it's been, 2 years, and they didn't address it. So,
Yeah.
I guess they are addressing because they specifically said, hey, Paladins, we're going to give you some love in 4.0, but
I mean, they have done little things, but they did small adjustments. Like they didn't want to. I guess they were afraid of overpowering Paladin for some reason. They wanted to make sure that their new jobs didn't get into a dim light like Astrologian did for so long, and then they overbuffed it and all that stuff.
But like, even if it gets overpowered or something, you can fix it in the next week. It's constant changes.
debuffs
PvP
suck.
needs it.
Debuff, like nerfing jobs sucks. It's a horrible feeling. Going from something powerful and getting weak, you hate that. So I think that's kind of another part of their mentality. Maybe I'm making up shit. I don't really know what I'm talking about. But I think that's kind of their reasoning is they don't like nerfing things that much. They like buffing things. They don't like to nerf them too much. I don't know. Random thought. Sorry, I didn't mean to completely cut you off, Sue.
Yeah, it's fine, honestly. Like it's a normal concern. Like I would hate it also if my class became useless. But if you can find hundreds of excuses to not balance the classes, but it's just not gonna work. This is PvP. People will solve it. People will get to see what's best, and you have to constantly change it to make it more interesting.
And some things are just going to be left out, though. I mean, like, you can't stop that. Like, so we're talking about melee. How many choices of melee do you have? Not all of them are going to be best.
I mean,
right?
Yeah, I will say that. Yeah, like they don't have to be, but you can give small buffs to ninja. You can like say you increase this skill's potency by 10 in PvP. It won't help them much, but it's just it's a stepping stone. You can just keep doing small buffs to see where they at least get in a level where they can be played better. You don't have to suddenly give them like 1,000 more potency to make it OP. Just slowly, every week, give it something small to see.
Isn't Ninja supposed to be kind of like a unique job, though? Like in its own way, where it's the only one that stealths around, and that's supposed to be its feature in PvP, right?
They completely butchered the things that made it unique. So like it used to have increased movement speed, but they put that on the chopping block. They could have done cool things with hide, but the fact that you move like as slow as like a turtle when you're hiding, really that destroyed it, at least in the feast. You can still do fun things with it in front lines, but it's not practical in the feast.
Okay.
And then a lot of things too, it's like they're very tied to positionals, like their Aeolian Edge duality damage and their trick attack are both tied to a rear positional. So that sort of gimps them a lot, since the other two jobs don't have that sort of restriction on their main burst.
Right. Makes sense. Okay, we're gonna get back. I feel like we've skipped over a shitload of stuff here, and we don't have like too much more time to sit here and talk about it. But I do want to talk about one of the other big frustrations. Then I want to talk into a little bit of speculation here. The only other frustration I really want to hit for sure is, and again, no witch hunting, is win trading. All right, so talking about this in general, when we actually have that discussion, is because there's a small population, right? That's where it really comes from. If there wasn't a small population, win trading couldn't really be that much of a thing.
It would still happen. Ava, do you want to take this one just because you're more familiar with like the high level WoW scene as an example?
Well, in World of Warcraft, they did have win trading and worse, like DDoSing, if you know what that is. They basically they find out your IP, they cut out your internet. It's and it's just a horrible thing. Like they don't really allow you to play the game. So it's kind of like a dual thing that they do. Like they queue up against you and then they disconnect you. So they win while also putting you down. So it's just awful. And that's actually illegal outside of the game.
Yeah,
too.
no, it's illegal. Yeah, that's horrible.
But so like win trading will happen in every game, but like in particular with Square Enix, it seems like that they don't do anything beyond like what they can see in chat logs, because like unless they say it in a chat log to you and like you can point them to it, then they're not going to look that far into it, like so you can like report them however much you want, like, oh, they're win trading, but like without them like saying it in game and like, oh, like and all that, then they won't do anything, because then like beyond that, like they'll just say like, oh, well, this other team's just really bad and they're just winning a lot. Like that's not win trading. But like
Yeah.
Right.
it can
Well,
be obvious.
that's actually the GM told me that when I reported win traders in season 1, there was this group of guys, right? And they admitted it on the forums, but because it was on the forums and not in game, they couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah. So
So basically, there was this situation where it was 8 people got together and they played together from like 6 a.m. to like 11 a.m. when like EST. Nobody plays the Feast late party at that time. And their excuse was, they were in the military. They only wanted to play Feast together. But it was so obvious, dude. There was one guy that got boosted to the top. He was number 2. And the other 7 characters were just straight up alts, right? They were level 60 in crap gear that looks like they just hit 60, didn't have any mounts or anything from the main story quest. So it was like clearly they were like bought or botted or something. And he was like, oh yeah, we just like playing PvP and we only like doing it together. And we don't really want to face the competition because our lag is really bad because we're playing, overseas. So we just want to play together. And we put the one guy, the reason that we all have 50% win rate and he has 100% is because he's so much better than all the other 7 of us. We switch him between the 2 teams so that we each have a fair chance and it's fun. It's like, okay, guy, you literally just described win trading, but like Square Enix isn't going to do anything about it for some reason.
We had in Chaos, in season 2, we had someone who bought 200 wins. They did this in a link shell. We reported them so many times. Like we have so many, like you said, the Discord stuff, and we can see them. Like we posted the screenshots. We reported them with timestamps, whatever they said. It took them around between 1 and 2 months, I'd say, just to ban them, with proof, in-game proof. Like if they should have been banned on the second day.
Right. I mean, that does seem like really screwed up. And I mean, in the end, that does discourage people from playing. Like, that makes you not want to play as much, right? Because you're like, all the rewards that I'm working to get mean nothing. It makes it to where they have less value because getting those rewards doesn't mean you're a good player. It means you're really good at working the system. And I mean, this is what I experienced with Triple Triad. Like, when they first did it, that's all it was. It was gaming the system really early in the morning, and then you're done. So, go ahead.
I was going to say, to circle back to, like, with that situation I just described, the one that was, pertaining to me, I did report that to a GM, and you want to know what he told me? He said, well, there's no proof of that in game, so we're just going to have to accept that, sometimes people are better than us, and that's why they might be higher rank. Not everybody's a cheater.
I can see how you took that maybe personally.
Yeah.
Okay. Ava, go ahead.
But there's like other things like that people can do that, since like if they don't say it in game, then they're not going to investigate that much further. Like people, there are people that are account sharing, boosting each other, and it's like they're not playing on their own account; they're getting someone else to play for them. And it's like, okay, like you're getting like someone that's better than you to get you higher up in the ranking so that you can like act like you're just as good as like that ranking says you are. And it's like, okay, well, you're actually not.
I mean, and that's like, one of the reasons why it's a serious ban too. Like they do ban people for that, like playing on other people's accounts, and that would be a situation to where it would be valid, right?
Well, I mean,
you can't really, again though, you can't prove that unless they say in game, "Hey, I'm playing on your account."
If they actually look into the IPs, yeah.
But like
they won't do that.
They won't do it. Like the GMs don't have any teeth in this game at all beyond like looking at chat logs. It's like.
And I think that's what they do with the GMs. I mean, the GMs don't really have the power to do what we want them to do.
Yeah,
right? That's pretty much
why
it.
You see the only time people getting banned is for talking trash, and like being toxic. That's like the only times you see people get banned.
Because they're like, hey, yeah, this is really mean. All right, I can ban you. I have evidence. This is exactly what I'm paid $10 an hour to do. I mean, in the end, that's how it turns out, right?
I mean, they don't have the tools to do basically anything other than, police people that hurt someone else's feelings, So,
yeah.
And like people that like, and win traders, account shares, boosters, they all know they're not stupid, so they don't say it in game. Or even
they can't even do it anymore because they removed the chat, so they don't even have to do their job now.
Nice job, spam.
Well, I mean,
there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, like, they can even say it in game, but like if you don't see, like say like you're me and like you report someone, well, it's like they didn't say it to me, so like I can't point them in the right direction to like say like, oh, they said this and this to each other in whispers at this time. I just don't know that personally, right? So I can't tell them that they're actually planning this. But even then, they can be even smarter than that. Just like say it in Discord to each other and like and all that. Like there's just no.
Do you think they just need to make an initiative to go out there and start doing? It's like we look at what they do with RMT, right? They try. They have these efforts. They're like, hey, we banned this many people. We've done this. We've done this. Every single they throw out a news report. They're like, hey, this is what we have in bans. If they went in and they're like, hey, this is also, they add a new section. They're like, win trading PvP, or they have little sections of just bad activity in PvP, right? And they just had that, and they had a number next to it, 10 people. Would that be good enough to kind of stop people from doing this stuff? Or
I don't know. Like, thing is, they don't do it. Like, you know. But like, the thing is, like, they need to allow GMs to take in. Like, they need to give them more investigative power, and they also need to basically like allow them to use what basically is circumstantial evidence, right? Like say like these people like queue like at a time where like, you know, they're bots, right? And they queue against this one team like 30 times in a row. Well, doesn't that seem obvious that they're win trading? Like, you know, like just straight up bots, you know, that they don't attack, they just run to the middle and they die, right? They don't even like hit an ability. So like you can basically like use that, right, as evidence to like at least like do something about the bots, right? Like,
right.
Well, there was an instance, one of the ones this season on Aether actually had 7 other accounts that were just all using a bot app to control all 7 of them, and they did run in and actually participate in combat for like a minute and a half, and then they would just like one team would disconnect to give them the win.
Yeah, I mean, people are there's really smart people out there who can make cheating happen in any way that they want to. They'll find some way to make an abuse happen. But I mean, there should be something happening, right? There should be some sort of police, some sort of like people out there that says, hey, no, guys, this is not okay. We are going to take action against it, so don't do it. Or you risk the chance of us actually doing a ban on you.
And I think it needs to go even beyond that, because the thing is, and we didn't see this in previous seasons, but we saw it in this season, the system itself, particularly for light party queue, is just way too exploitable. So there was stuff that went on this season, and actually I guess some of them in previous seasons as well, where people are exploiting it, and it's not technically against the terms of service, it's just really shitty. So for example, and you know, don't do this at home, but we would have players that would just get people that were good but unranked queue up with them so that they would gain more points even though they were at a very high rank. Or in one instance this season, a very high rated player had 3 of his teammates transfer servers and then transfer back, and it reset their rank to 0 and basically did the same thing. So we got to play with the same people, which were all very skilled, but he gained, you know, exponentially more points because now he was playing with what the system considered 3 unranked players instead of, you know, 3 other high-rated players.
I do have something I want to say about that.
Sure.
I think it was a mistake to make the minimum amount of points you get 5 points, because that makes it actually worth it to farm shitters, right? So like, like before, like you could only like, in a previous season, you'd only gain 1 point, right? But now they actually made it worth it to actually spam into the same people like for maybe like a couple hours, and you'll gain 100 points because you'll just crap on these people. And all that. And it's like it's a guaranteed 5 points, you know. So like you'll gain 100 points. That's a lot of points. So and personally, like I don't really think that they can continue doing what they do, like the current system in Light Party. Like they actually need to have people register as a team, because like like it goes to the abuse that like Stefan was saying, you know, and like you wouldn't have that problem if you force people to play on a team and stay with that team. You know?
Right.
Like,
so your ranks would actually be dependent. It would be team rank. Number
it would
one
be
team, number two team,
Just
number
do it
three
like
team.
Deep Dungeon. Just do
Like,
it like Deep
instead of,
Dungeon. You
like-
get two teams per season.
I mean, you wouldn't even necessarily need a good team, good players to play with you. You could just grab random people, and if like you can like be good enough to carry them against these other people that aren't so good, right? So like if you had teams registering together, you couldn't abuse like transferring off the server, making your rank 0, or playing with different people that have very low ranks. You'd actually have to play as a team for the whole season, and if you want to break up your team, then too bad, so sad, you'll lose all your rank.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Too bad, so sad.
Yeah.
So like you wouldn't see like in a majority of data centers, it was one person getting rank 1. Like for most of the seasons, it was just one person getting rank 1, and it was basically how you had to do it. Like you couldn't have a whole team of people a majority of the time get the trophy, because like it was easier to like just boost one person up.
Right.
So
No, that makes perfect
Yeah.
sense, and I think that you're absolutely right. That's how it should be done for Light Party. I mean, parties should feel like this is my group. We're really good. We'll fight together and we'll make a win on it. And we shouldn't be like, hey, how do we lift up one person? It should be, if they're gonna do it, they're gonna have to lift up a whole group, right? I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
But okay. So that's a big
That's
issue.
not
that
all
needs-
either.
Yeah.
And if anything, you'd be able to easier spot bot spammer people that are cheating. You know, like it'd
Yeah.
be easier to spot cheaters instead of like, oh, look, they just wanted to make a team together and they're playing really shitty. You know, like
Yeah. No, I gotcha. I mean, that's something I think that they do have to address. They have to go into this and they're like, hey, here's a problem. Let's find solutions. Let's give Ava a call real quick. Hey, Ava, what's up, dude? So what do you got?
You know, personally, like I've always thought Light Party was kind of a joke outside of the first.
It feels
preseason.
like it. I can't take it seriously.
I mean, like if people like stop playing like in solo queue, then it's way worse than Light Party, because like you either have to play in the beginning or like in previous seasons it would be impossible to rank up. Even like before Garo, right now, like if you played later on, it was almost impossible to get a queue, right? But
Right.
like, but since Garo came out, it creates a new problem of like just people farming these Garo players, you know, like that try it out, you know, and they don't know what they're doing, and you're just getting 5-pointers the whole time.
And like they stop queuing when they face a good team.
Yeah.
They say like we gained 100 points. There's no point losing 20 over and over. Just stop now. Wait a few hours. Queue again. Farm more Garo people. 5 more.
I mean,
Stop again.
like Primal was the only server that had a team that got rank 1, but like even then, it's only because like there was one player that was kind of doing it, but like he just stopped because, you know, like for whatever reason, like he could have taken rank 1 easily if he wanted to, but he stopped, so he didn't end up doing that in that case. But like it just shows like having an actual team is like a detriment almost.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's hope. So going forward, let's talk about Stormblood. All right. We kind of have wishes here. We've made a lot of little wishes and goals, and we did our little bit of complaining about things that's going on, and these are actual issues that need to be tackled going into making PvP more serious for, I think, Final Fantasy XIV. I mean, we've already talked about the new map a little bit. I think we had a good conversation about that. But I also want to talk about when we're going into 4.0, I'm going to assume this is where a lot of big changes are going to happen to PvP. All right, you're going to have different jobs, different roles, hopefully a different, I don't know if it's going to be just another version of Feast or if they're going to make a whole different PvP thing. I know they talked about new PvP stuff, but if they're talking about 72-man, I don't care. I'm thinking more 4v4 because that's fun. So going in there, we're hoping what? They find some way to kind of moderate PvP so we can take it seriously, have some sort of power in making sure if, hey, this is a win trader, it's super obvious, they get banned. If it's not super obvious, I mean, that sucks, but hopefully we can start getting something done towards it. Would you guys all kind of agree with that?
Yeah.
All right. And then maybe some sort of way to incentivize top players to keep playing. Besides
All
just
players to keep
definitely.
playing.
well, all players, yeah, all players to keep playing in some way. But I mean, if it dies out at the very end, then PvP doesn't evolve. It just stops. You're like, how do I get my points up there? And you don't get new strategies. You don't get new different types of meta. I hate that. That's what it feels like, at least, is that like all this like complex thought process stops at a certain point because there's no high level play, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then what was our other big concern? I think that was the two biggest ones, right? Is there another one that we're just like, they need to tackle this before Stormblood?
I think personally, like limit breaks should be not as game changing, and boxes, like
Okay.
you could like if I have to compromise, like you can keep the boxes, but like I don't think limit breaks in general should be that game changing. Like I don't think
I think the
people should get
3 are
more-
fine. Just melee is out of control.
Well, I
Right.
mean, like even then, like if you make melee limit break not do as much damage as it does, then it becomes like kind of like, well, why not just have
Make
Yeah,
like
it's
it
useless
different.
then. Like,
Make
Yeah,
the
no, like,
adrenaline
why
rush
not-
do
why not
for
have
melee
the
do something
strict-
different then.
yeah, like maybe a damage boost or something. Short
Yeah,
time,
give
5 second
them
damage
a
boost. I
damage
don't know.
increase and a movement speed increase.
maybe
or
like give
something.
like
Yeah,
a
something
party
like that.
buff to like the like similar to like tank LB.
Mm-hmm.
Like give a party,
Mhm.
give like a brief like buff to the whole party.
Like
to do-
Bloodlust?
Yeah,
Like-
something like
something
that.
like that.
maybe.
Okay,
Like,
yeah,
would
that would
work.
be sick, dude.
like
That'd be
that.
so sick.
That'd be kind of fair. In like maybe not make it like too strong.
You'd have to counter it.
Like-
You'd have to have a tank LB to counter it every single time, right?
Well, no, I wouldn't want it to be that strong.
Okay.
Like giving the whole team the like maybe like like a 10% buff to your damage for like I don't know like as long as the tank LB, right? Like
okay.
10 seconds.
I don't want it to be that much of a game changer because like it should be something like cool you can do. Like maybe you can kind of think about when to use it, but it shouldn't be like, oh,
Yeah.
I hit the button, I killed someone. Whoa.
This is what I'm thinking for melee, right? This is my idea. I just thought of it.
Okay.
You get-
good.
You get 10% damage increase. You get a sprint buff, right? Like an equal like movement speed increase, but it doesn't stack with sprint. Very important.
Okay.
And you also get a 10-second Feather Ward. Just those three things,
sounds
boom.
nice,
So
honestly.
and the whole buff lasts for 10 seconds. That's your new melee LB.
So you have to just kind of time it. You're like, now my burst is ready. I'm going to amplify my burst, and I'm going to be able to kill somebody. Well,
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yep.
okay.
But yeah, like I think they should just stick with like the how often the original adrenaline appeared, not add more, and
Mhm.
maybe and get rid of that wolf's heart.
What part's the word?
I don't
Yeah,
want
I think everyone hates that buff.
yeah, like it's just it doesn't make sense. It kind of just like gives like a free. It makes one player invincible, and that's usually going to be like maybe the melee DPS that is
Mhm.
like that has the presence of mind to like actually kill the box. So
Yeah.
and like actually use its burst. Like the problem a lot of other melees have is like they don't want to use like their forbidden chakra or whatever or their jumps on the adrenaline, but like like the other player, the better melee will know like to actually burst the box because that's the best way to like
Mhm.
secure it,
Yeah. And I mean, if you can secure it, you're basically getting your burst back because you get a LB.
yeah. So it's like
Okay, so one other thing. This is going to be non-related to PvP in general that I want to hit real quick. This is related to the community around PvP, in particular the biggest development of the community so far, which is the Tryhard Discord. I'm going to put them in the spotlight for a second, if that's all right, if you guys allow me to do this. So when I started to get a little bit more into PvP and I started to get excited for it, everybody's like, yeah, you got to go try this Discord out. You got to go in here. You got to look at it. You got to figure out PvP by going in here and talking to people. All right, I joined it, and I was like, oh, man, shit, these guys are serious. They know what they're doing. Then, like, I look over every once in a while, I check it out, I'm like, oh, this guy's a piece of shit. I hate him. And it's like a 1,000-line conversation about how this one player is the worst paladin in the world, or this whole one person's... Like, I mean, and that kind of happens. And I expect that stuff to happen, right? With people who are very passionate, and they're playing, and they're mixing up with different people, and they realize someone's making a mistake constantly every time they get with them, and they're like, oh, I'm not going to win with them. You're going to trash talk and shit talk. It feels like it kind of cycles into that a little bit. But it has been one of the best ways to get better at the game. It's going in there and actually experiencing some of this and being part of the community. But it feels like it's turned into kind of a boys' club, right?
Yeah, definitely kind of. I mean, so I guess to explain it to people that aren't familiar with it, if my single piece of advice, if I could give one, is that if you join the Discord and want help, there's different channels on the side. Join the one that says meta. There's a meta channel, and that one, there's no memes allowed, no trash talking. It's strictly stuff about PvP, and people are always there to answer questions. It's like if you want a PvP question answered, that's your place. If you want to be part of the community, that's what the other channels are for.
Okay, I gotcha.
And like it does get out of control. I myself have been kicked from the Discord once for getting a little too heated. But the mods are pretty active, and if stuff does get out of control, like they will police it. Like they'll mute people, they'll kick people.
I will talk as an admin there. We could try to control like stop trash talking, but then people would just migrate to somewhere else because the majority does it. If I banned everyone who trash talked, we would be missing 80% or 90% of the people here.
Right.
Everyone does it. Like if it gets too heated, if it goes too many to personal attacks, we cut in. But otherwise, there's not much stopping it. We just have other channels, as King said, the meta channel, for people who want to ask for advice.
Okay. Or you can ignore him, you know?
Yeah, it's true.
What's that quote? How is cyberbullying even real? Ha ha ha! Like close your eyes, nigga. Walk away.
It's also hard to control users with chat ban, right?
Yeah. It's hard to control you. Yeah, because I mean they got it. They can't get their rage out because all they have for rage is nice job. They spam nice job and thanks, right?
Pretty
thanks
much.
gets spammed sometimes too.
Yeah.
Like what would happen in game just happens
or
in Discord
hello,
now.
or they'll say hello. Like, what are you doing? Hello, are you there?
Hello. I love it when someone dies and they spam hello. I'm like, all right, that wasn't your fault for being completely on the other side of the map. I'm sure.
And there's other things people do. You can actually, since like you marking people, it'll say like you mark someone as target to ignore, right? So it's like they'll spam. I've actually had someone do that to me, and it's like, and they spammed it on me because like they thought like I let them die when it was them. Stupid, but like they'll go like, oh my god, you dumb healer! I'm gonna spam target to ignore on you, and it'll put like that little circle with the slash in it.
The no sign, yeah.
Yeah, so people are still toxic. I think the chat ban was stupid because people like you're still gonna get spam.
Yeah.
You know?
But I mean, all it does is just put blinders up for the people who aren't a part of the community. I mean, they just don't see it anymore. They're like, I don't know there's anything bad being said about me. But if they ever went in there, they're like, I would probably go into a deep depression. There's a few people I would think, I don't know, maybe all the memes that you guys have in there, the people who the memes are about know it. But I would assume there's some people who don't, right?
I mean, we have memes about people on Discord too. It's not just offensive ones. Like we had so many bad people who were like terrible at the game that they improved, and they still have it on there, and they just like wear it as a badge of pride. Like if I had a meme from a year ago and I'm some godly player now, I would be happy to see it just to see how much I improved, and people would know it anyway.
That's a good point.
I mean, it gives you attention, right?
Yeah, makes you popular. In some
like
way
people
or form.
know you. Like it's like, oh, well.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, it's really not that bad. Most of the crap talk comes after a match when everyone's heated and like all the adrenaline's going through them and they're kind of just angry they lost and they're just gonna spam in there, go fucking read a guide, you know, all the other stuff. But it's okay. You just kind of gotta grin and bear through it because if you're gonna play with anyone who's actually trying hard to win, you're gonna get some people who are a little bit angry, and so. I'm okay with it. I think I've accepted it pretty well. I wish that some people wouldn't be shit on as hard as they are, but I can't control it. I feel like there's no point to controlling it because people are going to do what they want to do.
Some people bring it on themselves too.
Yeah.
My greatest piece of advice is that if you don't want to get shit on, then don't shit in other people's stuff.
This is something I would also say.
You know, talk shit, get hit. You know.
Yeah.
I mean. You know, like I tell myself like it's not necessarily their fault that they get put on my team and like are a burden to me, you know, since like I'm like up in the rating, right, and I'll always be in a disadvantage in terms of like players on my team in that way. So, like it's just the fact that diamonds aren't paired with diamonds, platinums aren't paired with platinums, and golds aren't paired with golds. Like. It's more of Square Enix. It's not Square Enix's fault either, but like it's kind of like feeling like you're babysitting like people that are like over 1,000 points lower than you. It's like kinda,
Right.
it can get frustrating, and I tell myself it's not their fault that they're on my team.
Yeah.
If anything, it's my fault for, you know, being that high rated. But like,
It's my fault for being so good.
yeah. But like, it's just that people. It just goes back to the problem where people stop playing. You know,
Yeah.
Yep.
and it's not as popular as it should be.
Hopefully it will be. And I mean, honestly, I can't really say anything too bad. I know the things get heated and people hate each other, and it comes these little clicky stuff starts to happen, and it gets kind of old and annoying. But I keep myself away from it because I feel like in the end that makes me a little bit happier if I'm not doing that. What would you guys give for advice for people who are active PvPers and who are part of the community? What are some of the biggest downfalls that you think are happening and people just need to kind of improve upon as people?
Well, I try really hard to understand. Like I already told you. But
Yeah. King, you got one, right?
I have been trying to just relax a little bit and not care as much, which would in turn make me less toxic, and
Right.
it's been working out so far. I still yell a lot, but
Not as much.
yeah, not as much.
Okay.
Not because of the chat ban though.
yeah, usually, yeah, me too. I do that too. Like when I
Yeah.
stream,
Uh-huh.
like people will see me getting really upset sometimes to the point where I'll call people trash like
Mhm.
on my stream and like, and
Yes.
I try not to get too mad anymore.
Mhm.
So like I'm not.
I mean, in
Yeah,
the
like
end, I
that.
think that's just fine. You just have to start like accepting, like, all right, well,
Yeah.
it's fine. It happens. What are you gonna do?
I know. But like sometimes I kind of feel like if I didn't kind of like rationalize why I lost, I would stop playing this
Right.
game.
Yeah,
It's like oh my
that's a
god.
good
Like,
Well, I mean,
point.
you sort of just have to laugh at it, you know? Like you gotta sort of think like, wow, it is ridiculous and funny how bad this guy on my team was. And like so instead of getting like, super mad about it, like I tend to do, just be like, all right, like this is just ridiculous. Like I can't even be mad.
yeah,
Right.
like sometimes
Different way
like,
to look at it.
my team will do like 200,000 damage like between the two DPS, while the other team had like 450,000. And I'm like, okay. Like,
Yeah, I just like
Like
instead
it-
of being mad, I just feel sad.
it's like I couldn't. No, there was nothing I could do about that.
Yeah.
Like crazy sometimes.
Soup. What's some things that you want to improve upon on yourself? Like when you're doing like what's a big issue that you see with maybe experienced players that you would want to see it be improved?
I don't actually know. I think people should like. I see a lot of top players just don't care about other players. That's kind of makes me like annoys me. People ask for advice and they just tell them you're bad and just go away. Whatever, don't play. Like it's when someone asks me for advice, I just like have a conversation with them. I had conversation with people that lasted an hour just to give them some tips. I wish like more players did that, and I also wish the new players were open to that because I also had I also saw the other side where I tried to give someone an advice and I was told to do very bad things. let's
Classic
say.
elitist conversation, right? Yeah. I got you, man. All right, so I do have a couple of questions here that I'm going to go ahead and throw out. Meest had a question here. Oh, a lot more questions than I thought. Hold on. Okay. Meest had a question to Ava, I believe. Do you feel playing the most OP healer? And how do you feel playing? Feel pretty good about it?
I don't think it's OP to that degree, but like I can do. If I were to nerf White Mage, I would nerf Repose like a little bit, like maybe by 2 seconds, like from 8 seconds to 6 seconds, and then the DR would be to 3 seconds, and then maybe like 1 second. But like if I felt like before someone was saying like Repose was gonna get removed, and like I pretty much thought like, well, that's pretty much the end of White Mage, because like that's pretty much the only kind of utility White Mage has beyond really huge cooldowns like Tetra and like Benny and Sacred Prism, and beyond that, like Astrologians kind of like kick butt,
Okay.
with like their instance, So
Here's another question.
would-
Go ahead.
oh, okay, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, the other question was just from Machimo. How do you pronounce your name? Is it Ava? Ava? What is it? Go Go ahead.
Well, it's Ava, but like my Twitch is Avarence, and that's the name that I use in most games. Like so.
So you prefer Ava?
If you want to use it short, but like
Okay.
Avarence is how you say it.
So I should be calling you Avarence instead. Just say screw it, Avarence, right? People need not
Well, if you
to
want
not
to,
be lazy, right?
but saying like Ava is fine too. Like,
okay.
So
There
you've
you
been
go.
calling him the wrong name this whole time.
The entire damn show. Jesus Christ.
I wasn't wrong. It was just a short way of saying it. Like a lot of people call me Ava, like when I play with other games with them and all that. Like that's just a short way of saying it, and I don't mind it.
Okay. All right. So God forbid 12 here. Actually, have any of you guys seen the sudden death mode yet?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ava?
Wait, what?
Sudden death mode in a match. Have you seen that yet?
No, I haven't. I haven't really played in the preseason so far. I have played enough to know what like goes on and all that. But,
I've seen it, and it seemed pretty good. I'm fine. It's like whatever. I mean, it could be. I'd rather that than a draw. I really would. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
see,
like 'em.
it depends what side you're on, you know? If you win the sudden death, then yeah, it's awesome. If you lose it, then shit, I'd rather.
I mean,
well,
if you get a draw, you lose no matter what. Basically, to me, that's a loss.
no, it's no. If you're ranked, you don't lose points.
Yeah.
If you're in your qualifier, you don't lose a qualifier. It lowers your win rate, but it doesn't.
Yeah, I think.
like we said, win rate doesn't matter
Yeah.
really.
Come on.
It's nice.
It's more of a win rates has always been a thing where like like how long you played and like when you stopped. So
Oh my God. All right. So here's a question, and Meest, I want you to understand that I'm going to deny the question, just because I'm doing my best to be good on this show. Is a question to Avarence, which person in the current top 10 on Primal doesn't deserve to be there? That question will not be answered. We're just going to skip past that because we don't want to turn it into that type of show. We're going to do our best. We're doing good.
if I want to say anything, I think everybody who's in the top 10
doesn't deserve to be there.
yeah, they don't deserve to be there.
Okay. Furry Tractor 68. Can we address the problem that you have to grind an extremely long time to be competitively viable in PvP with skills that require skill points to enhance your abilities? Okay. How do you guys feel about the length of time it takes for you to actually get leveled up? I'm not even level 50 yet.
I'll take that one since I literally just had to do it on a new character. It's really stupid, especially because the PvP points, not just the abilities, but the points you allocate into them are so critical, particularly for healing jobs too. Like it's just dumb. They need to take that out.
Just
like the difference between having your traded skills and your untraded skills is too much. It's like, especially with the timers, you can get an entire additional use of your PvP abilities if you have them traded versus not.
Mm-hmm. Okay. It's good answer.
So yeah, it's dumb.
Well,
Yeah, just remove it. Honestly,
just to say like one thing about it, like some abilities are not as useful as others, and like I personally as a white mage, I can like get by with 2 points in Sacred Prism, one in
But you still need like
Purify.
rank 30, right?
Yeah,
To be
but
safe.
Something like
that's pretty quick though. But like even then, I wouldn't want the ranking system. I think it's kind of, like regardless, like whether or not like the importance of certain things you need is like way less than others.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think the ranking system is particularly needed. I also find it weird that you have like a random 2 points that you can't use.
Yeah, that's pretty
Oh,
stupid.
it's like-
Right? Yeah.
I rank 50. It's like okay, well, like why did it have to be like?
Just make it every 5 levels or every
Like,
5 points.
Like personally, I don't know why it had to go up in increments of 4. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's weird. Okay, question from Teddy here. Do you guys queue as a group of 4 or solo? If solo, how do you handle players that don't know what the fuck's going on? All right, so usually you guys just switch to machinist, right? If you're gonna queue with people who don't know what they're doing, because then you might actually win the match. Or like, what do you do if you know that you're gonna be queuing into people who don't know what they're doing?
I always want to play healer then, because if the healer is the person that doesn't know what they're doing, I quit. That's not even fun. That's the biggest reason why I play healer actually, is because most of the time when I want to have fun and like play DPS, the games end so quickly because I just can't trust anybody else to do the job.
Fair enough.
Also
Well-
depends on like who's on the enemy team. If the enemy healer is good, I'll like to play healer. Yes, but if the enemy healer is also bad, I would probably pick DPS
Yeah,
because I can
that's
just
true.
abuse them.
I just want to say something about bad healers because I play all the time and these bad healers will beat me because and it kind of upsets me, you know,
Mhm.
when people say like, oh dude, this bad healer's playing, you should queue against him. Well, conversely, like I already said, like
Mhm.
if like I'll just say the easier thing, right? Season 2, like a silver healer will be playing and it's like, oh, you should do that healer is so bad, you'd win all the time. Well, I have 3 bronze players on my team versus three golds and a silver. Like, okay, like
Right.
I'm not gonna win against that.
Yeah, no, it's rough. But I mean, healers get insta Qs kind of anyways too, right?
Mhm.
Most of the time.
Yeah, so you
But,
can
like,
lose really fast.
Yeah.
but what I'm saying is like maybe like if you have an average healer against that other healer, like
Right. It doesn't
It might be
matter
bet-
if your
it might
team
be-
is trash.
it might be better for you. It might, but otherwise, like don't
It-
think that having a bad healer like it's gonna hurt you that much, because the other team will probably it's like working with the same thing. Everybody has a weight
Right.
in concerns with the teams. So
Oh, that reminds me
Is
of
that-
one of your memes.
We're not talking about
We're
players
not
like who's
talking
casting
about-
stone while everyone's dying, right? You'll see it. It's not just a meme. You'll see it in games.
Oh my god. Okay. Dark Aeon asked, "What's the point in raising as a healer in Feast? Is there any benefit to do so?"
Rarely. If there is like, let's say, not much time left and you have to put all the pressure you can.
Mhm.
Like, let's say there's a 20 or 30 seconds left and the enemy team you're in the enemy team space and you have to get a kill to win. Yes, you can raise, but otherwise there's no reason to.
well, it
Okay.
depends.
So-
Like sometimes like the boxes are coming and you
Oh yeah, that too. You're right.
Like
I
it-
totally skipped that.
And
Mhm.
if you're able to like kind of heal them up and not be pressured by the fact that they have low health and you can't heal them up, then I don't see a reason why you shouldn't resurrect someone. You know,
To save it, I'd say like
Well.
I don't know.
well, it has a short enough cooldown to where you can use it at least
I
like maybe
guess.
twice. You know, so
See, that's what you get, Soup. You play Monk. You don't know anything.
I
Come on,
get
dude.
rest though.
the one thing
I know when they want to rest me, like when I want them to rest me though.
You need to tell them to
one
rest you
thing
more.
people need to realize is
Nah,
that you
don't
don't
rest me.
use your PVE raise. You don't use the normal raise ever.
Yeah, that's really stupid.
You use divine breath and nothing else. You don't use normal raise. So
Okay.
don't do it.
All right. Another question here. Teddy asked, "How do you figure out what gear will be best for PvP?" That just really comes down to number crunching, right? And just going in there and testing and
Well, every class has its own like stats that are best. Like even PvE, like they have their best stats, you know. So like since everything is synced down to 150, you can basically try hard really easily with your gear, you know.
Mhm.
You can easily have full crit determination as a melee or a ranged or a spellcaster, or as a black mage you can easily get spell speed and crit on all your gear since everything is synced down to 150. And basically like if you want to know like what's the best for you, you can basically just ask someone. But if
Yeah.
you want a general thing, like crit det is basically for everybody other than black mages, and for healers it's kind of up in the air depending on what you like, but like
I think
Pi-
piety is at least the
piety-
one standard.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
piety is required for healers,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of a preference of what you want for other things. I personally don't like crit as a healer because like since everything gets synced down to 150, the
Mhm.
amount of crit you get is like maybe like a 3%, 5% increase or something. I don't even know, but like it's not that much, so it's not even worth it. Critting as a healer, you can't choose when you crit. and you might crit when like you don't need it, right? It'll be overheal.
Yeah, but I guess it's the same thing, right? Because then you might crit when the person otherwise would have died, but the crit saved their life. Because
I
the
know,
crit
but
here too is like a benediction.
It's too random. That's why spell
Yeah.
speed is
Yeah.
like the better one, or even
Mhm.
maybe determination.
Nah, determination is so low though. Like
Yeah, I
it's
know, but-
nothing.
Actually, for Scholar, I
Nothing.
think Scholars like crit because
Yeah, the
Yeah.
crit ad low
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like
Yeah.
changes the game.
yeah, they don't overheal with their crits since it's like a shield.
Yeah.
So that they get a super shield. Like if you heal overheal, then it's just icing on the cake, right? It's like 4,000
Mhm.
shield on top of the normal 10,000 health.
Okay, so here's a question, Dark Aeon. This is this is one of these questions. Like when people ask you this, you're like, you want to give a serious answer to it, but it's impossible to give a real answer to it, especially if you're a very competitive player. It's like, will any of you guys play Red Mage in PvP?
I mean,
I play every class in PvP.
Okay.
I play everything. Like whatever. I just change around. If it's fun, if it's good to a degree, I will play it definitely.
But if it's a ninja,
I tried ninja. It's just like there just doesn't feel good to play. It's not fluid.
okay.
yeah, and you can purify during your burst, and then you'll fuck up your burst.
Yeah, like that's the
Yeah.
worst part.
Yeah.
Okay. King, are you gonna be a Red Mage? Yeah.
No, I will only heal. Because the other people I play with, like on my light party team, are much better at DPS than I am, so we're never gonna switch. And like I was saying earlier, I just I don't trust other healers, so I have to heal.
All right.
I'll try it, though.
I'm personally just only good at healing. So I've played WoW a lot, and like historically with me, like I'm better as a support rather than actually doing the deed. So
Doing the deed. That's the one way to say it, right? Okay, cool. Let's look at this next one from Furry Tractor. Thing is it easily programmable? Because Adrenaline is based on the LB system. Okay, so I think that was in reference to talking about changing up kind of how Adrenaline works. Because I don't know, I'm reaching here, Furry. You might have to kind of give us a little bit more detail. I think that conversation went past. Go ahead, King.
So I'm not gonna pretend like I know like what the back end code is like for the game, but it shouldn't be that difficult to just like set up so that, because I mean, Adrenaline Rush is different than Limit Break, you know. The effect is actually different. What it does is different.
Okay.
How it builds is different. So I mean, Adrenaline Rush should be coded as something different from Limit Break. So you could just change, like you could just make something new and then change what the button does in that situation. I don't know if that makes sense, but it shouldn't be like extra hard because it's something different.
I mean, you could just make a PvP skill instead of Adrenaline Rush that's like starts cooldown when you start the match, and if you take the buff, it reduces the cooldown or something. Like there should be ways to get around it. It doesn't have to be Adrenaline Rush. It can be just a PvP skill or something.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to ask 2 more questions, and then we'll be done with questions for today. Meest to Stefan, how does it feel to be super attractive? I think you got a fan there, dude.
Damn.
There you go, dude.
I don't know. I was born this way.
Oh, okay. And Antonio Kerr, I would like to ask the other 3 guys what they think about Frosty's hair. You guys like my hair? It's good today?
Looks nice.
Yeah, thank you. I did it like in a couple of minutes. I was like, oh, there you go. That's how you do hair, guys. You just fucking do it. There you go. Ava, let's do your hair too, man. Let's just all do our hair on stream now. We'll just all do this thing.
yeah, I'm kind of conscious about my hair.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No. It's well, I am getting older, right? Everybody
We're all
does.
getting older. We're all dying. It sucks.
Not everybody has the same problem. but-
Yeah. No, I understand, man. Don't worry. We're all there in some way. I'm 30, guys. I'm 30 years old.
What?
I'm 30 years old.
Really?
I'm 30 this year. Yeah.
No way.
No doubt. I'm an old man. I understand if I get older right now. Oh, Jesus. Okay. So I think that's pretty good. I feel like we talked about a lot of stuff today. I think this was definitely a 3-hour show, even with the hiccup we had at the beginning of the show.
Oh,
It's about 3 hours, yeah. So what time is it over there, Soup?
420.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, there we go.
Great timing.
Perfect timing. All right. So, guys, is there any other last thoughts or anything else you guys want to talk about PvP before we get off the air? Any like
I mean,
things?
there's a ton, but we can save it for later.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. Like when I made this show, I was like, I could make a show every week about PvP easily. Now,
there's so much to talk about.
let's plug it. And Feast is talked about a lot by Mr. King here, right? King, you have 3 episodes on a podcast where you're trying to do a podcast about PvP, right? So go ahead and plug yourself on that.
So I'm trying to do a podcast. It's on my Twitch channel. Moving forward, now that we have some changes, I have some more ideas. It's going to be weekly on Friday nights, and then it's going to sort of segue after the podcast. I'm going to stream PvP all night. Okay. As of right now, Frosty, as you know, the production value is really terrible. So I'm going to try to improve that moving forward.
It's all right. If you need any help, let me know. The biggest thing, honestly, the biggest
audio.
Thing, just the audio.
Yeah.
If I can't hear you, then what am I doing?
Right?
Yeah. All right.
Host is the most important person.
Yeah, exactly. You guys are all just sideshow people. Who cares? No, honestly, that's the one bit of advice I will give you. Doing this podcast, guests are always number one. Everything else doesn't matter. Nothing else matters. Just the guests. You got to make sure they're good. And then
told them last week.
yeah. Tell them. I've done a lot of shows where I told people that I'm doing a show on Friday, and I got guests together on Friday. So I was thinking next time that we do this PvP show, I'll let you guys know on a Friday, probably. You guys okay with that?
Like one day in advance?
Yeah, 1 day in advance. Okay, King, do some more kind of like, where can people find you? What, if they want to go and do that stuff, tell people your Twitch name. I have it on the screen here, but go ahead and do it.
All right. Yeah. So I stream pretty regularly now, starting back up with the preseason at www.twitch.tv/Stefan_Delumiere. You can check out all the latest PvP action, stuff like that. It's really, not the best PvP stream on the internet, but it's okay.
Okay. There you go. Soup, I'm going to come around to you. Do your own little shout out for yourself and everything else.
Oh, I would like to shout out to Team Trier Discord for gathering such a great community together and doing so much for PvP, even though it might get a bit over the top at times.
Somebody, can you link in... if one of you guys are going to link it, let me know so we can get a permit going on for you. But link the Tryhard Discord in Twitch chat here. So for people who do want to join
1 second.
Yeah.
I will do it.
Okay, let me...
invite link.
Hold on, let me give you a permit then. There you go, dude. Okay, King, I didn't ask you who you want to shout out, so who do you want to shout out, dude?
I would like to shout out my raid group right now because they are currently 7-manning our creator clear for the week while we finish up.
Nice.
So thank you guys.
Awesome. I'm glad that this was you dropped out on your raid group here to do this show today.
They're okay.
Okay. Ava, do you have any shout outs that you want to do? Ava?
I'm trying to think of one.
Do you like anybody?
No, I hate everybody on my team. It's always their fault. But no.
Yeah.
No. But I just want to say, I just want to encourage people to play more Feast. It may be bad now, but the fact that you're playing it kind of gives Square Enix feedback, and it gives them more data on how to improve it. And I encourage people to go on the forums, give your opinion, on how to get it better and how to get more people playing, and just help out to improve the game for everybody.
Yeah, and I think that hopefully the PvP scene will grow a lot more. I think it's going to be absolutely amazing if we can get more people out there. And I mean, streaming PvP is good. If you guys like PvP and you enjoy it and you enjoy streaming it all, go ahead and try it out. There needs to be a better scene, I think, right now for the overall Twitch community in regards to PvP with Final Fantasy XIV, because that will get more people into it if people can get ramped up. And here, we'll give a shout out here from Mr. Derp. Derp does all right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, let's give him a little shout out.
That's why I said I'm not the best, because we got Herp Derp's PvP stream.
So give him a shout out. That guy is a pretty funny guy, and it's hard to be entertaining in the middle of matches, because sometimes if you have a 30-minute queue, you guys fill 30 minutes with something, right? So it's difficult, I think, to get into it. But I mean, with more people playing, you just have to kind of bear through it and make it work.
You got the replays going on. Those I liked those.
Oh yeah,
That's a good way to fill the time. Yeah.
I love the replays. They are literally my favorite spot. Right now, streaming PvP is one of my most enjoyable things, and I think going through the replays make it enjoyable because I can actually go in detail, see what messed up, see what I can do, advance myself in some way, even though I'm wrong sometimes. And I accept that I don't know everything. I think that's like the biggest thing. Is like I'm sitting there and I'm learning this whole process. It's been way more fun than doing PvE streams to me. So,
yeah. I also stream as well.
Yeah.
So,
shout yourself out. Do it. I mean, I know you only streamed like once in the last 2 or 3 weeks, but go ahead.
Well, it was Dark Week, and I probably won't stream a lot during the preseason. But when the season does start, I usually try to stream all my play sessions whenever I play. So, if you guys want to see that, you can follow my stream, and it's just my Twitch name, Avarence. So.
Just be careful because he does put up threats about punching people.
Well, no, I don't punch people. I just want to punch something.
Oh, something. That's right. You have things broken around your house. Okay, guys. I think that was pretty good. I appreciate you all coming on. You guys did amazing here. Thanks for putting up with all the crazy nonsense at the beginning of the show or just completely bailed on us. And hopefully that will never happen again. It seems to have held up pretty well so far. This is episode 99. Next week is MogTalk 100. You guys, hopefully, you can look forward to that. We have a whole guest list, and let me pull out this guest list real quick, and I can see if you guys care about some of these people. We got Carrara coming on the show, of course, for the intro part. We got Ark and Balana, who are two common MogTalk guests, have coming on. We have Layla and Vox, or hopefully Vox. I don't know. I haven't told Vox he's going to be on the show yet, so hopefully he knows. Two world first raiders coming on. We have Miztech, we have Pukajitsu, we have Xeno Sysfex, we have Bok Choi, Goka, which was, leader of Elysium, Ethis about lore, we have Draconis, we have Denmo, Arthas, and Marco Turn. Those are the guest lists that is possible for next week.
Oh, hell yeah. Is Denmo a first time?
Yeah, it'll be his first time on.
I love his stuff.
So it's going to be a pretty fucking intense show. It's going to be about somewhere between 10 to 12 hours. And we're going to have different segments. Every hour is going to be a different segment about something else. And it's just going to keep going. And then we'll also hopefully have all the answers from Yoshi P when I sent those out a little bit ago. Hopefully they'll come back with those answers. And it's 8 questions of stuff that I really care about that hopefully that he can come back and give us some solid feedback on. So guys, thank you for watching the show today. You've been absolutely amazing. It's going to be fantastic next week. It was fantastic today. And we're going to host somebody here in a bit, so hang tight. Don't just leave yet. Our guest here will be looking up frantically right now. Guys, you're going to start doing that. Someone for us to host, and then I will take your opinion and we'll do that host. We're going to go into the credits reel, and I want to personally go ahead and thank Carrara for helping moderate everything, Blazana for giving me the artwork, Andre Kane for allowing me to use the music, our guest 100%, best part of the show. Thank you for coming on, and until next week, guys, be good, keep cool, stay frosty. You guys have to do awkward wave with me. Do awkward wave right now. Yeah, bye guys. Bye.
See ya.
See you later.
Yeah.